Yeah, from 7 to 9, we're living a lie, so stop everything.
We live, right?
We live.
What you see is what you see.
Stop, man, stop.
Facebook Live, we
Yo,
live
Cash.
You can call
We
it
need to
kick
work
with us if you show respect. We have a lot of dollars, we always got a profit. You know we neighborhood, we always kicking dollars. Yeah, that's the stilo, we do it for the people. Higher than the ego, we ordinary people. We be kicking it, cause you know we living it. Come and catch a vibe, it's a vibe, come and witness it. We down for each other, no matter the weather. It's the B139 clubs, Harlem stick together, what's up?
What's good? What's good?
What up, what up, what up?
Welcome to the Sunday, man. We normally don't do Sundays. We every Wednesday, like y'all know, but we have a special guest. So when we have special guests, we move the block. Y'all know how it go.
Yeah, we don't play no
Y'all know
games,
how it go.
man.
Everybody don't get this. Everybody don't get no early Sundays.
Not at all.
So welcome to the Beat 139. I'm Doc. Shake the block.
I'm Don Vito, voice of the peoples, and like Doc said, you know, we don't do Sundays, but we do special days for, you know, people that we feel like it's gonna be a great interview. You know what I'm saying? And right now we got my man Cavario in the building.
Cavario.
What's up, Cavario? What up, what up, what up, bro? What up, what up?
Thank you,
How you feeling, brother?
I'm excellent, man.
Good to have you, man.
Life is very, very
You
good.
know?
Happy, bro.
Very,
Hey,
very
man,
good. I
listen, man.
appreciate
It's been a long time coming because when we first started the Beat 139, when me and V started it, and Cash was away, but we all got this thing together. We had a list of Harlem people that we wanted on the show. We never could catch you.
That's
back
back
in-
I'm always in motion.
And your name, we still got a few names, but your name was on the list. We was like, damn, certain people from Harlem we had to get. And so when we saw you, we was like, oh man, it's on.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate your patience and determination, and I congratulate you guys on what you've established. I wasn't hip to it until y'all introduced yourselves to me at the Heaven Up in Harlem
Okay.
last week. Shout out to Daniel.
Mhm.
And you know, I saw how people responded when I said, "Yo, the brothers from Beat 1039."
B139.
139.
Yeah.
He said, you know, they hollered at me. Oh yeah, that's you. I was like, damn, where I been? Motherfuckers know about this shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Universal now.
Yo, we done had some everybody. Lenny Green, Red Alert, Ron Browse, Cordell Clear. We helped her with her campaign.
Oh, that's
We
dope.
had Fat Man Scoop, K Slade. Everybody been on it,
That's
man.
dope,
But we
man.
already
That's
had you, like Doc said, we had you on the bucket list.
Your
We
name
didn't
was-
get a chance to
But
run
you
a
kind
point.
of like sort of came up in
Yeah.
certain conversations, like we spoke on the Don Diva when Samuel, so yo, it kind of was like almost like there, like you know,
Shout out
your
to
name.
Sammy.
Yeah, so your situation came up a couple times, like on the show with different people we had on here. So that's
It
a
makes
good thing.
sense, though. I mean, shit.
So you know, you definitely your story is crazy. We definitely gotta go to the beginning though, because we like to go from the beginning. People don't know you. So tell the people where you from.
I'm from Harlem. I'm from 115th Street, 27th and 8th Avenues, 235, 5W, 5th floor, walk up. You know, pre-World War II, walk up. You know what I mean? I was born in the '60s, late '60s, and into an organized crime family. My mother was a class 1 narcotic offender and a stone cold killer. My father was a guerrilla gangster and a stone cold killer. And you know, that was my religion. That was the reality that I grew up in. And that kind of set the foundation for how I would perceive myself in the world and apply myself to the world.
So you was, let everybody know you was from the east side of Harlem or the west side?
Now I'm from no disrespect to anybody.
You know Harlem,
I
but
already know you're gonna
we
say.
just want to talk about it, man. That's all.
Right. When a person says Harlem, historically,
Right.
when people in or around Harlem say Harlem, they're talking about West Harlem.
There it is.
Harlem. They're not
West
talking
side.
about
West
Spanish
side.
Harlem.
There it is,
They're not
there it
talking about
is.
Spanish Harlem.
There it is,
If
man.
If you look at the history of Spanish Harlem, a lot of money was made there, a lot of dope was sold there, but that wasn't the place to say, yo, let's go to Harlem
Yeah.
and spend a bunch of money and some of these, you know, upscale, down, low key, you know, spots, whatever, where the wealthy and the famous and the infamous all coalesce. They weren't talking about anything east of Lenox Avenue, brother.
Thank you.
Correct. There you
That's
go.
that's just a fact.
Right.
So I'm from
We
Harlem.
just had that
I'm from the start of
conversation.
Harlem. We're talking about what we're talking about Harlem.
Harlem.
You know.
So you said, I'm a little familiar with your story. We spoke about your mom and your pops. That area, the guys who ran that area, you could speak on, you want the guys, that area was kind of popping back then.
Well, y'all indulge me for a moment.
No, yeah.
It did take, bro.
Sorry, I
It's
wanna-
your time, man.
I wanna share something with y'all
Okay.
that'll put that into perspective, right? I don't actually need these, but it makes everything so much brighter.
Right.
I put on my man's joints one day. I was like, oh shit, this
Yeah.
is
I'm
dope.
gonna tell you what it is. A lot of us don't want to face the fact that that thing be sliding a little bit.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
I
But
don't
helps
need
with
them to
clarity.
actually read,
Right.
but I find that it makes it a little easier.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Easy is good.
Yeah. So I said, fuck it, I'll go with easier.
There you
All
go.
right. So this will kind of help put it in perspective, right? This is my autobiography. This is Raised by
Okay, y'all
Wolves,
check that out.
Inside the Life of Minor Gorilla Hustler, right? So this is as it turns out, this is the seed of what became Don Diva.
Mm-hmm.
This is it, all right? So, of course, we'll get into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when people ask me where I'm from, I tend to tell them that I'm more from a time than from a place. The world I was born into didn't have Crips or Bloods, rap music or MTV, crack or spinning rims. My world was filled with the rhythms of hustlers and gangsters, the morals of killers and pimps, and the soundtrack of soul music and Soul Train. The end of the 70s marked the end of the first decade of my life and the last true heyday of Harlem's underworld elegance. Bumpy Johnson, the omega of a great line of Renaissance men and women, had passed away. He followed alpha number bankers Casper Holstein, known as the Belita King, and Madam Queen Stephanie St. Clair, along with gentlemen like Robert Wells of the famed Wells Restaurant, where Bumpy died,
Wells,
and
wow.
Edwin Eddie Small of the Grand Smalls Paradise. In 1973, after paying a $325,000 bail, narcotic kingpin Frank Matthews walked into Smalls, and he was never to be seen again, having disappeared with $20 million in cash. Not long afterwards, Nicky Barnes broke the code of the streets with it, and with it 1,000 hardened hearts. And with that final act, the Harlem of my origins disappeared forever. Right? As a child, it seemed to me that Harlem was the center of the world. This is specifically about the question you just asked, right? To
Okay.
address that condition, that space, right? Perspective for people who, if you were not there, you would not know. You cannot get it from a rap record, okay? Okay. All right. The dope diamond that had its points on Harlem's west side at 116th Street and Manhattan Avenue, 116th Street, Lenox Avenue, and 115th Street between 7th and 8th Avenues was known to be prime real estate in the narcotics game. If you had a stake within this space, you were seeing big money on a daily basis. All right. I grew up on 115th Street between 7th and 8th Avenues, and as a minor, I mingled amongst addicts and dealers as millions were made and spent. This was the epicenter of street life that popular culture emulates today. Okay? The way that so-called leaders of urban style and attitude move and express themselves now is entirely influenced by not just the cars and clothes, but the walk and talk of the men and women that came through Harlem then. The way, and not just the fact, they drove often customized automobiles with white wall tires, spoked rims, and gleaming grand grills was influenced by the various styles and attitudes they brought with them from all over the country. Okay? Places like St. Louis and Detroit and Chicago, as well as Durham, North Carolina, and Boston, Massachusetts, all combining, mixing, and intermingling to create that unique Harlem sophistication with its hardened, unabashed center wrapped ever so elegantly and often inexplicably in the finest of everything. Okay? It was that pizzazz, that panache, that couldn't be found anywhere else in the world, and thus is now imitated everywhere else in the world.
That's facts.
And it's true that nearly every street notable to come out of New York City made passage in and around 115th Street on their way to gangster greatness. All right, Harlem's sportsmen is what they were called, right? Then that's what they were called then, Harlem sportsmen. But now they're known as players. All right. To make it real plain for all you four-cornered cats, players make their living by hook and or by crook. The hook includes drugs, hot goods, sex, or pimping. The crook, on the other hand, is robbery, extortion, or con. The hip-hop terms playa and gangsta are not only misspelled, but they're also generally misapplied. The fact is, those titles are only appropriate in places and at times when virtue is a determining factor. Today, that's a whole lot less than the frequency with which they are used. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all got that right. This real Harlem here.
That's that deep,
This is
deep
real
story
Harlem.
right there.
This
And
is-
the book is called Raised by Wolves.
Raised
I definitely
Cavario.
need y'all to hit
Inside
that
the
like
life and mind
button.
of a guerrilla hustler.
This
That's
is
right.
going to. I just want to give y'all paint a picture right real quick. This is going to be a
history
monumental interview right here. So get them likes up. This wealth of knowledge, and not only he's done a lot of things. A lot of you guys familiar with him because he's big on YouTube. So continue hitting that like button and go for the ride because we've been looking forward to interviewing him for a while. Like I said, he got so much, and it's crazy because you got so much since 2018 when we started, when we wanted to first grab you. So now talk about, because I know you was getting money, whatever, but I want you to tell your story. I know more about it, but when now you said your mother and your father, can you go a little deeper? You had any siblings grow up with? Yeah, brother, right?
Yeah, I had older sister on my mother's side, right? And that's who was in the world that I grew up in. So my sister, she was 16 years old when I was born. She'd been a dope fiend 2 years before I was born. Her along with maybe 5, 6 or so of my first cousins, my mother's siblings' children. And so the home I was born into, I'm born into a home where one room I'm walking through and somebody's nodding, the next room I'm walking through and tens of thousands of dollars are being counted on the bed. Right? That was my reality. You dig? Right. So there was never a question.
I want y'all people to see this. This the age he walking in different rooms. Can you give me the age you was at?
3, 4, 5.
Damn.
So we talking like the 70s?
Yeah, like
70-ish,
72,
72.
I was
Right.
born in 67.
Right, okay.
So, in 72, I was 5.
Right.
Right? And at 5, I knew more about what was going on in the street than a motherfucker who was in the street for a couple of years already.
Right.
Because I was in the environment where what was going on in the street was being facilitated.
In your house?
Yeah.
So I definitely want to say this. You could touch on real quick. 'Cause I know I love like knowledge and history. Though, in your opinion, do that affect the child?
Of course. Developmental environment has everything to do with the kinds of ideas, morals, ethics, belief systems that a child adapts.
Absolutely correct.
And adopts. So if you grow up in a home, that's why there's so much conflict, in contemporary youth culture, current youth culture, and ever since like the early 90s there's been so much conflict because so many of these kids come from homes where their mother's a regular person, has a regular job, father's a regular person, has a regular job. That's all they've ever seen, right? That's all they've ever heard being talked about. They've been going to church all their lives, going to school all their lives, doing what their parents told them, what their parents exemplified for them. And then suddenly, through external influence, the popularization of this lifestyle, through hip hop culture, whatever, they start doing some other shit. They start doing some shit that's completely opposite of what they come from. It's like, well, where the hell did that come from? It came from the popular culture that is directed towards youth and the way that popular culture introduces ideas that are counter to the ideas of their developmental situation, which is their home, not outside, not the block, your house,
And you was
the
5
home
years
you
old.
come from. That is who you are.
Yeah.
Anything you do outside of that
Yeah.
is a deviation from your
Deviation,
reality.
exactly.
And the further you get from your reality, it's like getting off your square. The more you're off your square, the more volatile your existence is.
Exactly. Hold on, Doc. So for you to be 5 years old, right? And you go in one room and it's a lot of money, and you go in the other room and it's dope, a 5-year-old kid got to be like, wow,
Why would he
So-
wow?
because, you know, you might start touching the drugs.
The thing
Or
is, you don't know
You
no
trying to
difference.
figure out where the money coming from.
This is your reality.
Your reality, right?
You're enveloped in this. As far as you know,
Yeah.
everybody's going through this.
Right.
As far as you know, this is everybody's
Yeah,
fucking
got you,
reality.
got you. Yeah,
Let me. This gives me another opportunity to tap in.
Man. Do what you
with
got.
this-
So real
with
quick
this
before you go
situation
into,
real quick.
'cause I know you're going to. So the music is not influenced what you're saying. 'Cause you said start at home.
No. The music is absolutely influencing.
Okay.
The question is, what's influencing the people that are making the
making the
music?
Mm.
Because they're the ones I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who come from regular homes, who just happen to be in poor socioeconomic situations and are being exposed peripherally as they go outside and they see somebody driving something or somebody wearing something, or they pass and hear a conversation between two people and they're saying something and they're picking up little bits and pieces and they're making up the rest. So they're picking up, you know, a 2 or 3% or 1%, and they're making up the other 98, 99% in whatever way it suits them. And then they're getting on a microphone or getting into a studio and they're recording something, and it sounds very exciting and romantic and just, you know, just entertaining.
Right.
And they're talking to people largely who are just like them. Rappers are not influencing real street dudes.
No.
They're not.
Right.
They're influencing people who want to be that, which
Right.
are 90% of the people who are in these neighborhoods. They think that this is the standard of excellence. Mommy and daddy don't know what's up. They just keep going to work every day and, you know, nothing gets better. But I seen so and so and he driving another brand new car for the 3rd time this month. I don't understand the disparity between what mommy and daddy are doing and what he's doing. I don't understand the difference between those existences, those choices. I don't understand the degrees of detriment involved in those choices. I'm making this decision that he's making better choices than they are, based entirely off of ignorance and what I make up in my mind and what I pick up from my social circle, my musical influences, my cultural influences. You know what I mean? And that is really that's what happened to the game. That's what happened to the game, but it was inevitable. And if any of us were thinking, if my generation or the generation before mine or the generation before them, if they were thinking, they would have known that we keep riding around these fancy cars in these neighborhoods where nobody has anything. If you keep pulling up in all of these beautiful, you know, clothes and jewelry and all that stuff around people who have no means, sooner or later you're gonna be like, what shit, I want some, I want to play.
Yeah.
I want to play. You keep showing it to me, and if I keep seeing it, it's gonna make me think, well, shit, it must work. I've been watching Cavario all these years, and he's still here. Not to mention that everybody else done went to fucking jail. So I'm not really the example that you want to use. You want to kind of look at the whole picture and say, most people don't fucking make it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
probably not a good chance to take.
Odds are slim.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Definitely hit the like button, people, because one thing I noticed with you was like, you saw this way before everybody. Like, you was the first with the street magazines, the first street dude on YouTube. Like you
I didn't
wasn't
even know
seeing
that. I
dudes
didn't
think
even
about
know
it.
that.
You didn't know
I didn't
that?
know that. I didn't even know that, bro.
Yeah,
I didn't even know
you
that.
picked
I was
up
so
the
busy
camera
doing
and
what I
all
was
this
doing
stuff early.
that I wasn't even paying attention to that. Nigga.
Oh, so
I
you
was
ain't-
just
you ain't-
trying
You
to.
ain't see the money and like this.
I was
is
just
big
trying
now.
to I was just trying to do something with my life that I never thought I'd get
Outside
a
the
chance
box.
to do.
Right.
You dig me?
Coming
I never
from
thought
where
I'd get
we
a
from.
chance to move into the world
Right.
and be a person in the world.
Right.
I was 30 years old when I changed my life. You dig?
But this stuff you doing, like everybody doing now.
Right.
You was like a veteran, like you like
But I
old
didn't even
school.
realize that.
I'm
I
like,
didn't-
damn,
I
like
didn't-
you've been doing all this. All this is you.
Yeah,
You've been doing all. I remember
didn't even
seeing you
think
walking
about
around
that.
with cameras.
The first
and
person
shit.
that told me that was the cat that made all hiphopparties.com, I think.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, you know, the reason we do this is because we wanted to do what you were doing, but we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't get the resources together, whatever. And so the internet thing was starting to become a thing. This is long before smartphones. I'm talking
Right,
20
right.
years ago,
You've been
right?
doing that.
And he was like, "Yo, that's how we started doing this." And I said, "That's interesting. That's cool." I like the fact that I was able to, because I
So what made
influenced a
you
lot of
think?
people
What
with
made
me.
you
Other
think
things.
of
Because
doing
you was
that?
way ahead
What
of
made
the
you think about
it-
saying,
it
you know what?
kinda-
Let me try this shit.
No, that's the cool thing.
What you
bro.
started first.
That's the cool thing. I didn't.
cameras, right?
I didn't have any plan or idea. It just happened organically.
Mhm.
That's why whenever I hear, on the occasion I've heard people say, that it was somebody's plan to make Don Diva. I say it was nobody's plan. I don't know why somebody would set themselves up with a fallacy like that. There was no one's plan to make a Don Diva magazine. No. That was a complete and total accident, and we just responded to it. You know what I mean? But I don't want to get too
Now,
far
we won't
ahead.
get too
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
But that's
just so you know,
far. But I
just
just
so
want
you
the
know.
people to tap
Right.
in. They going
But
crazy right now.
To tap in on that because this is a very important thing.
Okay.
The influence of environment on a developing child is something that's so important to understand, because if you do not understand it, you can't really effectively raise a productive, progressive child that's going to contribute to society, because you don't understand the things that you're doing or not doing that are having an influence on this child that will disenable it or enable it to be a productive fucking citizen, right?
Makes
If you don't
sense.
understand how these things work, then you don't know that you're fucking up. And what level of education are people from the environments that we typically come from getting? Nothing that's going to tell them that, you need to be real mindful about what you say and do around.
And one thing
your
you said was very important. Like you said, there was money in this room and there was dope in this room. You thought that was just like, hey,
There's dope fiends in this room,
right.
Dope fiends.
Dope fiends in this room.
nodding,
Nodding.
and money from dope being counted in the next fucking room. Literally,
And you thought that was
those
normal.
are those are shotgun. It's a shotgun apartment.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
That's you know what that is, right?
The long hall.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's one room. You
Yeah.
come in
With all the
and,
rooms, yeah.
and living room here, kitchen
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
like bathroom, kitchen,
Yeah.
then first bedroom,
Right,
second
second
bedroom,
bedroom,
third
right.
bedroom. For like you walk through it.
Yeah,
that's
the long
shotgun
ass hallway,
apartment.
yeah.
So you can
Yeah,
shoot a
back in the
motherfucker
day.
from one end
Back
to
in
the
the
other
days, yeah.
straight,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Usually you can be in the front room, shoot a motherfucker in
Yeah,
the kitchen,
yeah, yeah.
or the other end of the house,
Yeah.
right? So. I'm walking through this. My bedroom is near the front. My grandmother's is the front room. The next bedroom is me and my niece was my niece around? No, she wasn't around yet. Well, she would be a baby, because my niece would be about 2 or 3 years younger than me. Right, it's my sister's oldest child. So, our room was there. So we come out of our room, then my older brother, who's really my first cousin, but he was raised like my older brother. He's the one to whom this book is dedicated. That's Steve Reno. He's the one that said, this book is dedicated to Stephen Reno Holder. He's the guy that made up 5-0 Roller.
yeah.
Wow.
He used to watch Hawaii 5-0.
Right. Okay.
5-0,
So
He's the one that
5-0.
made that up.
Okay.
So for
okay.
y'all don't
Yeah,
know
5-0,
what
that's
5-0 is. This is an interview. Tell
I used to
people
say
what
I know
5-0
where it came from.
Yeah,
Now I know.
5-0
Okay.
is the
Keep
way
the
that,
lessons going, brother.
you alerted the crew or people on the block
Right.
that the police were coming.
That's right.
Right.
This is y'all-
So
Yeah.
5-0, was something that was adapted.
Sometimes
from a
they said
show
Hawaii
of
5-0.
old-
But
It
now
was
they
an
say
old
5-0.
show.
Yeah.
It was an old show called Hawaii 5-0.
Yeah,
Right. They
yeah.
did a remake of it, but the original show was
Hawaii.
from the late '60s, early '70s. Right. And so that was something that he used, to alert people that the police would come with it, because it was his job. He was the manager on the block
Right.
for my family, right? So he's the only one that's still alive, which is why my story was able to be as thorough as it is, because everybody's dead. So he's the one that said, rule number 1, bear no witness. Rule number 2, bear no witness. Rule number 3, bear no motherfucking witness. Right? Now, if you a cat who's been in the street and you've never heard that, you're not who you think you are. That's the truth. You're not who you think you are. You bought a bad bill of goods. Millions of us have bought a bad bill of goods because it's turned into pop culture over the years. So a lot of cats are just getting into it because they want identity, because they want validation, because they have low self-esteem.
Right.
Because the bar for esteem has been set so high and ridiculous and stupid, like you gotta have this, or you gotta be that or do that in order to warrant the regard of your peers. You can't just be decent and kind and moral and ethical and loving. You got to be dangerous and you know, in pursuit of a dollar at any cost, you know, and you know, slick and dishonest and all kind of shit.
Y'all listen to
It
this
turned
is
our
Josie
morals
giving
up
up right
fucking
now. This
side
is real
down.
talk.
You understand what I'm saying?
This is real talk right here.
So, in reference to the question about the environment and its impact, right? This will put this into perspective from my point, right? This is the introduction to my book. So it's the first 2 pages.
Gotcha.
All right. As a child in the constant presence of gangsters, I've overheard a lot. I remember hearing it said that it's better to be feared than to be loved. I remember gangsters who tried to live on love, and I remember that it almost always ended badly for them. But then many of the fear didn't fare too well either. Right? I remember an afternoon in a Harlem classroom long ago, after collecting a writing assignment from me, my first grade teacher, whose name I no longer recall, said, "You write well, Cavario. You could be a writer." I remember sneering and remarking, "A writer? I'm gonna be a gangster." There was no rap.
Right.
Rap didn't exist. Okay? I didn't get that from an external influence outside my house.
Right.
I got that from inside my house, where I saw people making money and calling shots, and when I walked the streets and people walked up to me and said, "Hey, Cavario," I don't know them. "Hey, Cavario, how you doing?" "I'm fine." How's your mother?" "Oh, she's fine." "Oh, you got any money?" No. Well, here's 20, here's 30, here's 40. Now you talking about 73,
That's a lot of money
45?
then.
That would be the equivalent of giving a 7-year-old, 8-year-old $150
Yeah. Or
for what it could buy.
what it could
Right.
buy.
So as a kid, I walked around with hundreds of dollars in my pocket all the fucking time. That was my reality. That's what I thought the world was. I thought that everybody was having the same experience, right? So I did not know that they were doing this to gain favor with my parents. I did not know that. I thought that they just were nice and they liked me. All right. So I remember thinking that I had chosen the game, but I survived long enough to understand that the game had chosen me long before I even knew what choice was. Long before I understood that the choices we make sometimes lead to circumstances that leave no choices at all. Long before I knew the world was filled with infinite possibilities. Bullshit yourself and the world will play along. We're taught this long before we can identify our true selves. But even before that mental is uploaded into our psyches, we as children operate on simplistic interpretation. This is what makes us more likely to do what the adults in our lives do rather than what they say. Right? My people never wanted me to be in the street, but everything in my home and everything in my community dictated otherwise. And as psychologists will often argue whether nature or nurture is the cause of our behaviors, I've come to suspect that it's a bit of both. If that's so, then the likelihood of my becoming who and what I became was as sure as the earth on its axis. Although I ended up bringing something uniquely my own into existence, as I was nurtured in a setting replete. Replete means complete, total, absolute. Replete with criminal inclination. Inclination, the design and desire and intent to do criminal things. Okay? All right, so as I was nurtured in a setting replete with criminal inclination, I often too felt the influences of my parents' innate makeup, their natural makeup. They were naturally hardcore people. As a child, my parents grew up together. My parents were both, like me, born and raised 115th Street.
Wow.
Okay? They've
So
known
they
each other
grew
since
up-
they was,
wow.
like me and my wife. Me and my wife know each other since I was 9 and she was 7.
Oh, wow.
My parents known each other since they were 7 and 8 years old.
Right.
Okay? And they were both known toughs on my block as children. Known to bust my mother gave my father his first black eye as a kid. And my father was a known bully. He had 20 siblings. Right? So their innate makeup heavily affecting my actions. I knew that I was being influenced by them, but I wanted that influence because I had a reverence for them that couldn't be measured.
Right.
Right. All right. So this exposure hardened me and prepped me for what would become my future. Consciously, I knew nothing of the interaction between my genes and my world, but I held all of my elders in the highest regard. Theirs was a criminal dynasty, cold, mean, and unflinching. And they bared no weaknesses, or at least none that were visible to my young eyes. Growing up in the 70s gave me the opportunity to witness at the end of an era. It is a time that will never be repeated, a time through which I was afforded the knowledge of the unwritten handbook. The pictures on the pages of our invisible manual bore images of frivolous flight, of fierce flights and frivolous fancies, and I looked forward to growing up and taking my place in this gritty landscape. Fierce flights. Fierce flights means motherfuckers doing whatever they wanted to do without regard, with impunity, meaning without any concern or fear of consequences. That's what I was raised in my home, not outside. Not when I went out the door, down the stairs, and into the street.
Right.
In my home, motherfuckers doing what the fuck they want. Right? Fierce flights and frivolous fancies. Frivolous fancies. Frivolity. Money was like, what the fuck ever. We do whatever we want. We got whatever we want. That was the reality I was raised in. I'm a child. I'm insulated in my environment, like most children are insulated in the environment, and you don't know what the fuck's going on in somebody else's house until you get the chance to get that kind of liberty and move and go into your friend's house, whatever. And until you get that, as far as you're concerned,
what you see is what you get.
What everybody gets.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay. It's the end of an era, the time that will never be repeated, through which I was afforded the knowledge of the unwritten handbook. The pictures on the pages of our invisible manual bore images of fierce flights and frivolous fancies, and I look forward to growing up and taking my place in this great landscape. All right. Like most children, I thought my home was indicative of all homes. I thought that everyone witnessed hundreds of thousands of dollars being counted by their parents on an almost daily basis. I thought everyone found 100-round spitting 45 caliber Thompson submachine guns in their mother's bedroom closet. Thus, by the age of 9, I truly believed that I was genetically engineered for the life of a gangster. And at this point, I have forgotten more about the game of death than most have had the time or opportunity to learn before their time is up and their opportunities are no more. Who am I? I am the son of my Harlem-born gangster-to-a-heart mother and the genetic product of my Harlem-born killer-without-a-heart father. I am the result of confusion and anger and the byproduct of deceit and greed. I am 100% guerrilla hustler. In that, what I explain is that if you are born into a certain circumstance, whether it is religiosity, whether it is criminality, whether it is, some other idea, that becomes the foundation for all the things that you will think and believe going forward until you do something to shake that foundation. So no matter what else you learn, the foundation is going to be the ideology of your developmental influence. Right? So everything you learn, even if you learn good things, they'll be tainted by the foundation because they'll be filtered through that. That foundation is the basis of all you understand because your understanding was developed in that.
And that's
so everything goes through that and comes out the other end affected by that.
That's the
like a
science
shitty
of these
strainer
kids right now, man.
Like a shitty strainer.
Just explain that. This is some Jules Cavario giving up right now because the way the society is with the kids and the way they acting right now, but everywhere, not just in New York. We talk about New York because we in New York, but that's all over the globe right now.
That's right.
It's the stuff that you're talking about.
That's right.
People like, why are
I've
these
lived
kids
in other
always
countries.
shooting? Why are they doing all this? Why are they doing all that? No one can explain it. Well, you just explained the past, how you grew up and what you saw, and I'm thinking about that's why a lot of this silly stuff is going on right now today because of the stuff you just spoke about.
Well, the basis of the majority of the behavior that we see that makes us go, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's fake body parts or this fake, I'm a gangster and I don't know how to make no money and I don't know how to organize nothing, but I did fire my gun randomly in that direction and may have hit somebody and they may have died, so I'm an accidental murderer now. So,
Right.
That's my shortcut to validation in the gangster realm because the gangster realm is what's being held in our community as like the standard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all low self-esteem driving that shit.
Yeah,
The
right,
need
right.
to be validated is greater than the need for oxygen, my nigga. These motherfuckers would rather not breathe than somebody look past them and go, yo, that nigga right there is the shit right there.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
that's always been a condition, right? That's like a rite of passage for developing young people. But what has happened is media has been introduced, right? There was a point where, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I was in my car reading, listening to a book, right? And I was thinking, I remember when I was a kid and I would hear an adult listen to talk radio, and I'd be like,
Me
Fuck
too.
you. Why is not music coming out of the
like a
radio? What the
motherfucker.
fuck? Like, why are you interested in what they're talking about?
Yeah.
And it's got a lot. It's got to do with maturity.
Yes,
It's got to do with
it does.
maturity,
Yeah.
right? If you're a child, you want to be entertained. You want to be distracted,
Right.
right? If you're an adult and you're a mature adult,
Right.
then you want to add on to the information that you're currently
Correct.
leveraging to make your life the quality that you want it to be.
Right.
Right? So you've heard songs, you know you'll always be able to hear fucking songs. If it's a conversation being had that you might gain something from, you want to tap into that while you have an opportunity to tap into that. Music will be there.
Yeah,
You dig?
Exactly.
So you can even listen to a little music in the background while you're doing it.
While you're listening.
It should be
Right.
classical
Right.
under those circumstances, but you know you can do that. So when these kids they're listening to this music that is telling them that I got Gucci, I got Louis, I got this, I got that. You ain't got this. I'm gonna fuck your girl.
yeah.
You ain't shit.
Right.
You better find something desperate to do at 12, 13, 14 years old because you're not old enough to be employed no motherfucking way to
Right.
earn you goddamn, earn you some money.
Right.
So you gotta find some other desperate act of behavior
Right.
that's going to give you access to the means that's gonna enable you to purchase these things from which you will garner attention and validation. But if you can't figure out a way to get that and get the money so you can get the stuff, then what is the, I can get a gun and I can fire the gun and that'll put me out there.
Right.
That'll get me some recognition. So that's what so it went from I gotta get some money and so I can be like this one and that one to I gotta get out there and make moves so I can be like this one that one to I just gotta get there and bust my gun a couple of times, you know what I mean, so I can get my likes up.
Yeah, get
Right.
your likes,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they're getting further and further away from the money. They're getting more and more severe in the punishments, and they're getting less and less
Right.
mindful about the consequences, of their actions. Not just immediately, but in the long term.
Right.
Right? Because the nigga definitely not thinking at some point this is going to land me somewhere where I might be sick, feeling terrible, feel like I'm gonna fucking keel over and die, and I'm stuck in a hole in some fucking concrete cell, and nobody gives a fuck whether I walk out of here or not.
Exactly. Or I might lose my oxygen, like
That's
you
right.
was talking about.
That's right. Nobody cares. Like they're not thinking that their choices could potentially end up in such a desperate and terrible and unimaginable condition as fucking prison.
Yeah.
They just not thinking that, bro. They're thinking, I might be Killer 187 online, but I'm just Robert in real life.
yeah.
So when I'm Killer 187 online,
Right.
I'm gonna talk like Killer 187. There's no consequences.
Yeah, no
I said something to
consequences,
your cousin last night,
Yeah.
and he said, he made me record it. He recorded it on his phone.
Oh, yeah.
It says, the further they get from the consequences, the more inclined they are to the behavior.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
facts.
He said, say that again. The further they get from the consequences, the more they are inclined to the behavior. So if a person is able to say, damn, if I walk down the street and I talk to a motherfucker the way that Cavario talked to a motherfucker, I'm gonna get my head knocked off. I don't know how to fight. But if I get online and I change my picture and I put a mask up, you know what I mean, and people who know me don't know it's me, and I change my shit to Killer 187, then I can get on there and talk greasy and troll and all type of shit
troll, yeah.
and get this thing off and make
Yeah, get
myself
popular.
feel good. It's like taking a hit. It's like, I told that nigga, I told that motherfucker, yo, what nigga? You know what I'm saying? Pull up, nigga. You know what I'm saying? And then they cut it off and then they go back to being regular.
Right.
But what they don't realize is that while you're doing that, you're creating a neural network in your brain for the persona. So the ideas that come out of that persona's mouth online, they're starting to gain greater and greater degrees of real estate in your head. You're starting to think like this person, which you have to, because now you're responding reflectively, right? You're like, motherfucker say something, oh nigga, what it is, what it is, nigga, it's all up. So it's on the floor, what's up? Let's do it. Where you at? I'll pull up, right? So you get good at this shit, like you fucking Robert De Niro. You dig? But then you don't realize that you're building this shit up in your head, and after a while, that persona starts to take over. And you find yourself in the store one day, whatever, and a nigga say something, and you don't react like Robert. You react like Killer 187. You forget. Oh shit!
I can't fight.
I can't fight.
The reality.
I don't carry no goddamn.
Right.
This nigga about to beat the dog shit out of me. You know what I mean? And that is like a small, scenario of a much more expanded condition. You dig what I'm saying? It's widespread delusion. Why do you think that you got so many kids whose parents are going, I don't know where he gets it from. I don't have no idea. I mean, I've had him in private school all his fucking life.
Right.
He's been an altar boy. I don't know when he had time to get involved with this stuff.
Yeah.
And why it's happening. Why good kids from good circumstances. This is not new. I knew kids from when I was growing up whose mothers and fathers were professionals. But the game was becoming more popular, especially when Coke came along.
Especially in the 70s
Right.
and 80s.
When Coke, it was, because 70s, it was heroin.
Heroin.
Yeah.
So there were 5 people who had it.
Yeah.
Right.
You were connected to somebody who was connected to one of those 5 people. Otherwise, you were not getting it.
Without
Right.
People have heard me say this before. I come from a time where you had to be verified by someone who was qualified in order to be certified. You could not volunteer. You could not say, well, based on the accident of the geography that of me being here, because I'm poor, so I live in this neighborhood, I must be a street nigga. I'm from the projects. I must be a street nigga. I'm from Brooklyn. I must be tough.
Right.
Are you fucking retarded?
That's just crazy.
You are who you came from.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay?
No matter where you
Okay.
came from.
My father put my first pistol in my hand when I was 4 years old and let me fire it out the window of 5W235 115th Street. Because he didn't want me to be afraid of that sound.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about another point I made earlier about the influences. He did not think, because he did not understand child development. He didn't think, this nigga might fall in love with the sound.
Yeah, he ain't think about it.
He might like the sound so much he wants to hear it a lot. Never occurred to him. Not that it would have mattered to him. He'd have loved that.
Right, right.
Yeah, my son gonna be a monster just like me. He was like that.
Right.
You dig? Wasn't a nice person.
Right.
Wasn't a good person. The people who loved him. Most people feared and hated him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a Jim Crow nigga.
Yeah.
These was not nice people, bro.
Yeah.
You feel me? And so when you don't come from that at home, you go into the street, especially back then, and that's mostly what you were dealing with in the street, unless you were dealing with dope fiends. That's what you're dealing with. So we're operating on a whole other level of morals, ethics, and ideology than what you're getting from mommy the nurse and daddy the mechanic or cab driver, who are telling you, if you ever get lost, just find a cop and tell him, give him your number.
Yeah.
You think my mother ever told me that? Motherfucker, you better figure it out. You ain't got nothing to say to the motherfucking police.
I ain't never.
This is what I'm being told as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid.
So, okay, all that, it seemed like you, Nasbu, school-wise,
School, nothing. I told
how
myself,
was it?
I dropped out of school in 10th grade. I
I
ain't
was
got
about
a
to ask you
GED.
that.
I ain't got a GED, bro.
You dropped
Why
out of
didn't you
school
tell
in
me
10th
nothing?
grade?
Why didn't you tell me nothing?
Okay, wow.
Not his institutions.
Okay, so,
I read the books he didn't want me to read. That's what I read.
Facts.
All right, so you said you dropped out. When you dropped out, so everything from 5 was going on back then, you seen all this stuff. How was your grades and stuff in school back then?
Shit, if I can recall, I found school very easy.
It was easy for you.
Yeah, and you got to realize the public school system is shit. It's rote learning. You know,
Bunch of lies.
You know what rote learning? Rote learning is we give you information and then you repeat it back. We test you to determine whether or how well you can regurgitate this information. It's really just indoctrination. It's not teaching you to think, it's teaching you what to think so that you will fit into the system that they've designed for you to be enveloped in to feed their machine. This is the reality of it. That's the reality of it. So it never appealed to me. For whatever reason, never appealed to me. So I found it like,
So
like when the teacher told me, you know, you could be a writer. I was like, fuck you talking about?
So this is very interesting because you bump heads with a lot of people, and so what their reaction when you say you dropped out of school? Because people, when they think that people don't have any type of
When they think that
low-level
Mr.
degree.
Charlie did not give you the information, then that you can't have it. You can't initiate your own education. You have to wait for some white man to say, okay, read this and then know it. That's what they think. So if you didn't do that, then
So do people, when you say you don't have a GED, the people you run across, do they be like, huh? Like they hear you speak and stuff, they be like, how? Like, do they say like, why you ain't just get it? And what would be your reason why you just think?
I had no interest.
But you could get it anytime.
Yeah,
but
you know what it is, bro?
something.
you get GED anytime.
Maybe back in the day it was more like a word, but now it's more like, okay, so what? Because a lot of people teaching themselves.
They
man.
tell you,
You know,
at
we self-taught now. We self-taught. We wiser and we smarter about what they taught in the school system. Like, you know, I'm gonna say this real quick, and I always say this, man. They made me take a test and study for some bullshit. The man evolved from 8. It used to be on a blackboard in front of us, and we had a Java man. Remember all that type of stuff. You know, we had to take a test on it. That shit's some fake shit. So what I'm saying, being self-taught right now, the way he talking, you know, a lot of people doing that now, man. You know, a lot of people not graduate from school, and most of the wealthiest people in the world, or the most famous people, didn't graduate.
No, they
school.
tell you bare minimum. He know that they tell you bare minimum. You at least have to have your high school diploma. They tell you bare minimum.
Why?
They said in order to get anything. They said
In
you
order
can't
to
get
anything?
nothing.
Like what? Like get what? Like what?
Employer, W-2.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I ain't never worked for a motherfucker.
What about a 1099?
I ain't never
You
worked
don't
for a
need to have
motherfucker in
that.
my life.
Yeah.
I sold narcotics from 1980 to 1997, from 13 to 30. Made millions of fucking dollars. I didn't work for who? I didn't grow up seeing nobody go to no work. I just seen motherfuckers bringing in shopping bags of money. So them telling me, oh, you'll need this in order for you to get a job. I was like, oh, the fucking job. I'm standing here right now with 10,000 in my pocket in 9th grade. So what are you talking about? I'm wearing Cohan Gators, best handmade shoe in the world, on my foot right now. Like, what are you talking about, teacher? My pants is $300. My shirt is $1,000. Karasi silk. Like, what are you talking about? You ain't saying shit. Back then, I'm talking about 83, 82. $1,000 shirt, that would be equivalent today to about $2,500, $2,600. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Your question was, do people ask me why I didn't just do it? And the reason was, there was no need for me to do it in order to pursue what I was pursuing. The greatest degree of education that this life had to offer me was in my familial structure. They gave me all the information I needed in order for me to be successful in the field that I had every conscious intention of going into.
So you said school was easy for you. Now you're in the 10th grade. You seem like a pretty smart guy. Did the teachers try to encourage you, like, oh, Cavario, yo, like,
always?
You know,
but it didn't mean nothing to me. I didn't have, for perspective, right? I didn't have posters as a kid who was popular. Bruce Lee was popular.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali was popular. Bruce Jenner was popular.
Yeah, he
was.
I didn't have nobody on my wall because I lived with my heroes. They were super niggas. Mm-hmm. You understand me? Yeah. They were unbeatable, unstoppable. There was no other entity that was more impressive to me than my mother, my older siblings, my cousins, my uncle. There was no, like, these motherfuckers were giants. You dig? So anything else was like peripheral. It's like, you ain't talking about nothing.
Right.
You ain't talking about nothing that interests me. I'm hip to things you don't have a fucking clue about. So they didn't have enough of a draw. There was no educational person that had enough of a draw to circumvent the influence that my people had on me.
Yeah, because I saw in the interview I think you said you was the first person who went to DC from the city, right?
No, I don't think I'm the first, because I had people in my family who were going to DC from.
You said something about.
You get money. Somebody get money.
Getting money.
Oh man, forget about it. Hell no. My family was getting money out of DC BMO like when I was a kid and still before
Yeah,
we
I had
moved
that
to
special
the
room.
I'm
Just
trying
start
to think
going
what
down
you
there
said,
too.
but you've been. I think
I started
maybe
going
you
to
said
DC.
you've been there before Alpo. I think you might have said.
Well, I got there in '86.
Because I remember you said
I got there in
something
'86.
about
Alpo
DC.
didn't. I don't think Alpo got there until about maybe '89 or something.
Yeah.
Like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was there in '86. When I was there in '86. I
remember you said something
I don't
about
remember them talking about, and of course I knew Poe since probably like '84,
Yeah.
right? I don't remember them mentioning anything about him or his name having any significance in DC during the time that I was there. By the time I got to B-more,
Right.
they were talking about him. And I got to B-more in '89.
So how was DC in comparison to Baltimore? 'Cause both of them was wild back then. But
Two
you had
different worlds.
Two different worlds.
Two
Well, both of
different
them was
fucking
violent
worlds.
though.
Yeah, two different worlds. Both of them violent. DC had a lot of dope going on, but it was really predominantly a cocaine town, right? By the time I got there.
Right.
Prior to that, like everywhere else, heroin was the king of the street, uncontested, right? But Baltimore, on the other hand, strong heroin town, still by the late '80s, as though when I got there, I felt like I had stepped back into 1974, 5 Harlem in B-more. When I got there, when I first went to B-more, and I talk about this in Raised by Wolves, when I first went to B-more, how I got to B-more, peaceful journey, this young man, this kid named JD from my neighborhood in the Bronx. I was standing out in front of my mother's building on the concourse on 64th Street. And I was standing talking to my cousin Lance. And he's like, yo, here come JD. Yo, he out in B-more, he getting money. You know, make that nigga tell us where the block at. So he come down the block. And I give him the classic Depot shit. Grab him up, hold him up in the fucking air, legs dangle off the ground. Like, that's my good, I used to do that, to literally lift niggas off the ground and dangle their legs from the fucking ground and have a calm conversation with them. It's calm. I'm like, so listen, you're gonna have to make this change or that change or this adjustment, whatever. You know, not no yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
Just this, your feet are 2 feet off the fucking ground. I think you get the point, right? So, and this is, see, that's the difference between being raised by actual wolves who had techniques and behaviors that were designed and had been tried and tested to get a certain response. Not random. I didn't not know what I was gonna get when I did the things I did. I knew exactly what I was gonna get because I knew exactly what to do to get exactly that and no more. I knew how to make a motherfucker do what I wanted to do without making them feel motivated to do anything else, like retaliate. I didn't put a battery in a nigga back. I put a thought in his mind.
Right.
You understand? So I get the information from him. About 2 weeks later, we go down to B-more. We go down there, I take about maybe 2/8 of crack. Cook up 2/8. People who don't know, that's an eighth is 125 grams. So I cook up 250 grams, quarter key, and I take it down to B-more with about 5 other cats. All right, including my cousin Lance. So we go to the block he told us. The block is Edmondson and Monroe. Edmondson and Monroe, okay. So we get there, and for one, it's like really like one of the only blocks, especially on the west side, that sells crack. Everywhere else is heroin. I don't know this though, right? So, you know, this is 89, and the heroin thing, in terms of, you know, this far northeast, had really fallen away, you know? And so, you know, we get out there, we're on the block, moving around, I'm digging, I'm like all these alleys and shit like that, you know? I'm a creeper, I'm a ninja, I'm on that type shit, you know what I'm saying? I go bumping the motherfucking night. That's my reality. So when half a day, you know, I'm moving around, and the guy who brought the thing down, the guy who actually put the thing on him and got on the train and came down, I can't remember his name now, but his sister was a girlfriend of my cousin Lance's, and he had just recently stopped smoking. He was trying to get himself together, right? So, you know, but you know, he was a recovering addict, right? So, you know, I'm moving around, and I go to the corner of Pulaski and Edmondson, right? And I'm standing there and I'm looking at the Underground, which was Little Melvin's club. I'm looking at the Underground, and there's a girl standing in front of it. She's a light-skinned girl, long hair. She's got on a custom Louis jumper, right? And she's got on got a Louis bag, big bangle earrings. This is obviously somebody didn't put thousands of dollars on this girl.
Right.
So I'm watching, and I can see her rocking.
Wow.
Rocking. Rocking. She's standing right next to a mailbox.
Nodding.
So I'm looking, and I'm like, that's bugged out. So homeboy, I think his name was Donnell, the one that brought the work down. He walks up. He goes, "What's up, Bob?" That's my nickname from childhood. "What's up, Bob?" So funny. I said, "It looked like that girl over there is nodding and shit." He said, "She is nodding." I said, "Nigga, ain't no fucking body young using no goddamn dope in 1989. He said, "Bro, they're all on dope."
That's
I
crazy.
said, "What you doing?" He said, "Everybody here is on dope. The niggas getting money on dope. The bus drivers on dope." And he had just gotten there
Right.
that day with me,
Uh-huh.
but he was looking through the eyes of an addict. So no matter how much they tried to cover it, hide it,
Clothes and all that, right.
he could tell.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so this is literally what happened. I said, "What?" So once he said that, I adjusted my lens and I played back all the things I had seen that day. And I put them into their proper context, of which I had a point of reference because I grew up in the heroin epidemic, at the epicenter of the heroin epidemic in fucking Harlem, 16th Street, 15th Street, Manhattan, Avenue. That's where the majority of it was.
Facts.
That's where it began and spread from there,
Yeah.
right? So I'm putting this shit together. I'm going, fuck, y'all niggas got me out here with fucking crack, and my family got a warehouse full of fucking heroin. I said, "Man, let's finish this shit real quick so we can get the fuck back here." And that's how it got started for me and be more with the dope shit.
As you and do you Alpo ever like in like type of competition? He being that both of y'all was down there.
Not at all. Poe wasn't in B-More. Poe was in DC.
In DC.
Right. And there was no correlation in our movements or whatever. Alpo is exactly the kind. He's like the archetype for the type of character that I was talking about earlier on. A poor, ignorant kid who comes from destitute poverty, who has no primary male figure, right? And who goes out of desperation and a lack of opportunity because he's too young to earn what he recognizes need to be earned in any other manner except for this access that is being provided to him by way of a friend of his who's a little older, which in this book, this is the Don Diva book.
Right.
This is Old Gangsters, Young Guns. I wrote this in 2003. I finalized it in 2006. I didn't publish it until June 1st of 2015, right? And in this book, there's testimony, there's Alpo on the stand in a case of a homie of mine out of DC. He's a young kid out of DC, called me one day and he said, "Yo, I'm in the feds in Virginia. Could you come see me, whatever?" So I go see him, right? And he gives me this paperwork, and he's like, "Bro, why is this dude in my paperwork? I don't know him. Ain't he like your age?" The kid's like 10 years younger. He say, "Ain't he like your age? I don't know him."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the kid might not have even been in the street when Alpo was in the street.
Yeah,
Right.
Right? So he's confused as a motherfucker, right? So I get the paperwork and I go through it and I see what Alpo had been doing. So this is it. All right, so United States of America
Yeah, I see it.
Versus Kenneth Simmons, Ronald Alfred, James Alfred, Franklin Seegers, Dion Oliver, Keith McGill. Okay? So this is day 20, afternoon session, transcript of trial before the Honorable Royce C. Lambert, right? United States District Judge. November 3rd, 2003, right? Page 31, line 17 and 18. Mr. Martinez, who has been cooperating since February of 1992, all right? That's the prosecutor introducing him to the court proceeding. Would the witness stand face the clerk and take the oath, please. All right, this is Alpo. Albert Geddes Martinez, government's witness sworn. Okay. Direct examination. Are you known, do you have any nicknames? Yes. What nickname are you known by? Alpo. Right. Now, first of all, if you are in court in DC on a drug charge, and they bring it, say you're in Manhattan, and you're at 111 Center Street, like I was at a point, and they bring Sammy the Bull in. You ain't did no business with Sammy the Bull. They bring Sammy the Bull in and introduce him into your court proceeding. And Sammy the Bull gets up there and starts to talk about who he is. First of all, when people hear Sammy the Bull, they're gonna look at you like, the fuck you got going on?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why they got him in here? You dig? You get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now, realize now, this is November 3rd, 2003.
2003.
It says he's been cooperating since
92.
February 1992. So he had been in jail almost 12 fucking years. Bro.
Yeah.
Right? So he goes, okay, sir, here you are testifying today pursuant of a plea agreement in both the Commonwealth of Virginia and in the District of Columbia. Yes. And how long have you been in jail, sir? 12 years this month. Okay. What sentence did you receive in Virginia, sir? First I copped out to 35 years and it was reduced to 16. What sentence are you serving? 28 and a half years. Sir, can you tell us where you're located? Yes, I'm housed in secure area in the BOP, Bureau of Prisons. All right. Can you tell us specifically what prison you're located at? No. Why is that? Because I'm under security program. All right. The part of the prison that you're located in, does it have some kind of name? He said, yes, the WITSEC program. He said, WITSEC is short for witness security? Yes. All right. Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about its geographic proximity to the remainder of the prison? He said, yeah, well, the WITSEC program is the housing areas are very small. A perfect example is like this room right here. You put all the guys that did what I did, and the rest of the building is for the general population, right? So he's saying they keep us in a very, very small place, isolated. Meaning the rest of the courthouse. Yes, the rest of the courthouse. Yes, the rest of the whole building, we're housed in a very small area. Okay, are you physically separated from it? We're separate. All right, sir. This WITSEC unit, it's some kind of a country club? No. Why do you say that? Well, actually, in the WITSEC, you programmed, you have a lot harder because the facilities are very small and the movement is very limited. Limited, what do you mean? Well, because the general population, they get to move around more because of their status and all. And our status is a little more high security and all that. So when we move, stuff has to be locked down and things of that nature. All right, so he says, would you like to tell ladies and gentlemen your initial introduction to drugs? Okay. As a kid, as any kid growing up in Harlem, I mean, especially in my neighborhood, I mean, when you come outside, it was right there. And I was introduced to the game by someone. And that's basically it. I mean, all right, you indicated that you had somebody who introduced you into this world. Yes, who was that? At the time, I guess I was around 16 years old, and he was probably around 19 or 20 years old, older guy. A friend of mine named Randolph Jameson. Right? Now, he just told him the first name of the first person that brought him to the drug game. He goes on to go through everybody. AZ, everybody. Every single person that he ever came into contact with, that he did some kind of drugs with, some kind of crime with, whatever. He goes to that whole thing and basically gives his whole resume. Now, what does that have to do with the person whose case this is, or the people's case this is? He comes in as a professional witness. After you've established, as he does, that you are a person who is steeped in this lifestyle, and then they start asking questions about, well, in an instance where a surveillance audio, a wiretap catches someone saying this, what does that mean? After you've given that kind of testimony he gave, you're certainly, in anybody's mind, any square person in the jury, qualified to say, if he said that when she said, hey baby, the kid's address, you can come pick him up for school now. What she really meant was, I just finished bagging up, you can come get to work and start dropping off. If that's what he says it is, then that's what it is. Right? So the kids who are coming into the game today have no idea how that type of shit fucking works.
That's crazy.
So
Not at
when
all.
you're making a choice that entails details that you are not aware of, you're not making the choice you think you're making.
Without a doubt.
That's right.
You're making a whole other fucking choice.
Right.
And whatever comes along with that, you're not mentally prepared to handle. That's how so many motherfuckers find themselves like deers in the headlight. When the shit comes, they be like, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't sign on for this. not this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 'cause like you said,
And then it's I'm not killing with 87, I'm Robert. I want a do-over.
Right. There ain't no do-overs.
like you said,
There is if you beat the
been-
nigga to the chair.
Yeah,
been
right.
12 years.
Down with
like
departure.
You said, popped up on somebody else's paperwork. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
And listen, this
People think they know things that they've never actually taken the time or invested the energy into fucking finding out. They like to take things that other people have said. I learned this when they were making American Gangster. My man Jeff Dixon, shout out to Jeff Dixon. He said to me, he said, yo, you know, there's a beef going on between the brother who was supposed to do, what's the black brother's a director he's supposed to do American Gangster, but he ended up not doing it because him and Ron Howard had a fallout.
Forrest Whitaker.
No,
Forrest Whitaker.
No, I know not Forrest Whitaker.
he's not an actor. He's just a director.
Not just a third. What's his name? Somebody in the chat, help us out. He did. What's the name?
But he got kicked off of it because
Lee Daniels.
No.
That wasn't Lee, not
This
Lee.
is way. This
Not
is
Lee, not Lee.
no. This
I
is.
know you're talking about
this,
that. I
this
can't
is.
think, but ain't
This not. It's not Gary. It's not F. Gary Gray.
Mm-hmm.
It would be his contemporary, his director. He was supposed to be the director, but he got into a conflict with Ron Howard because there were parts of this movie that didn't fit Hollywood's preferred narrative, which is the Italian mob, which they've made a bunch of fucking money off of doing movies about, is the pinnacle of the underworld, right?
Yeah.
We can't have anybody circumventing that because that's our cash cow. Every 5-10 years we can make a big Italian movie. But if we put something in here about some nigga who circumvented them and beat them and whatever, then that devalues that,
Yeah.
right?
And that was
And
bumping.
we don't give a fuck about no truth. We don't give a fuck about no reality. Like, we're selling stuff here, okay?
Yeah.
So when he said to me, he said, "There's and this is a policy of Hollywood. When there's a truth and there's a legend, always tell the legend." And when he first said, I was like, "That's crazy," but I get it because you got to figure, if the truth is available, but people prefer to perpetuate the legend. Yo, I heard that nigga flew over the motherfucking building, a single bound nigga, and outran a bullet.
Right.
But people know better. People would rather, especially people that are removed, right? So if you have no proximity to these characters or events, the further you're away from it, the more you want to believe in the fantastical aspects of it,
Right.
right? Because it makes it interesting. And when you're able to regurgitate that and repeat that to somebody, it makes you interesting, right? So you rather tell a motherfucker story about how a nigga went in and took over a whole fucking building by force and created a big crack fucking conglomerate inside this building, or you want to talk about how a guy, over a period of months and years, developed the relationships necessary to secure himself in a space where he was able to sell drugs in a neighborhood where people largely didn't sell drugs, but a lot of people came through to buy drugs, and was able to stay there and not go to jail, not get told on whatever, because he managed himself appropriately in the neighborhood. That doesn't sound as exciting. Let's say the motherfucker came in and fell from the sky and took over all the apartments like in New
Keep
Jack
the dream
City.
alive.
But Charlamagne always say that though.
But that's the reality of it. So people like to believe the legend of things,
Yeah.
right? So when a person like myself, who was actually there, okay, it's not third or second-hand information. I was on the motherfucking block. I was there. I was in the spots. I was in every spot, every club, every spot. I went everywhere. Everybody knows that. If you're alive, you're healthy, you're free, you're not free. If you were there, you know that. It can't be denied. I challenge any motherfucker to speak that, to say it was anything other than what the fuck I said it is. Anybody, I don't give a fuck who they are, where they are. right? So people like to believe these things about these characters because, one, it doesn't make a difference in whether it's true or not. They just want something to talk about. The historical reality and the impact of that history in terms of the people who will hear it and go, ooh, that sounds good. I think I'll take a little bit of that and incorporate it into my shit. It don't matter to them that it's having that impact on these developing young people. It don't matter. It don't matter that they believe this bullshit, this hyperbole that you fucking putting out there and perpetuating. Yo, the nigga had, the nigga had a brand new BM sitting in the fucking right in the middle of the store. No, it was old shell of a BM sitting in the store. But that don't sound as good though.
Yeah.
Let's tell the other story because it matches with all the other stuff we're making up about the individual. Mm-hmm. And we're just telling stories to be telling stories. We don't give a fuck. We don't care. We don't care if the nigga went to prison for 10 years and sat in there for 10. We don't give a fuck. We ain't send him nothing. We wasn't gonna send him nothing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this is what is pervasive throughout our so-called culture. You know, this mindless self-indulgence with no awareness or concern for the far-reaching ramifications of the thoughts, the ideas, the fucking words, or nothing, bro. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question about this this book, Old Gangsters and Young Guns. Cavario, another book that he published.
Yeah, that's my third joint.
Third joint. Mm-hmm. So you say this is Don Diva?
This is so when I wrote this book, it was because every month, every 90 days, had to come out with a new issue. Right. No matter how well the last issue did, had to reprove the concept with a new issue. Right? That meant new issue had to chase down. I personally had to chase down new ads. I personally had to do new interviews, write new articles, take new pictures, right? Whereas with a book, you make the book, the money in the magazine is contingent upon the advertising dollars. Mm-hmm. That is your life's blood, right? Just like radio, just like television, just like newspapers, okay? With a book, you make it, it's done, and you just keep selling it in perpetuity. At the point at which I did this, I could say solidly, I'd established us 1 million readers worldwide. I'd even established, I had my man St. John, shout out to St. John, out in London. This is a homie who had gotten deported back in the 80s because him and his crews run around in DC, yard boys, run around DC kidnapping and extorting drug dealers. So he got deported. So, you know, went back to yard and went to England. Now, I had established an account with Tower Records, which y'all may remember was one of the biggest record distribution stores around the country. Mm-hmm. I had them pre-purchasing, and no one else has ever done this. I had them, as well as others, pre-purchasing 1,000 copies of Don Diva, meaning they were giving me $2,500 for me to go and add to my money to print the next issue. Nobody did that. I had newsstands that were giving me $2,500 for 1,000 magazines I'm gonna go and print. Mm-hmm. Nobody did.
What year did Don Diva start? Hold on. What year did it start? Let everybody, let the viewers know.
Don Diva started in officially January 2000. In December of '99, we released a thing called Reflections for Don Diva Entertainment. The first logo that I had created by the guy who helped me to design what was going to be the first cover of Raised by Wolves, right? My man Wayne, he used to work for BET, to do the graphics for their Weather Channel, kid out of DC, good square kid. I called him and said, look, we got this idea. I'd come up with this name, Don Diva, right? Initially, it was going to be, all of this is the accidental birth of Don Diva is the first thing that you read in Old Gangsters.
Yeah, but this is very important. A lot of people ain't hear this story yet.
Of course not. They hear every other fucking story.
Because I'm interested in the story. Right. Like my when I heard, I was away when Don Diva came out, and when I was away, I saw this magazine Don Diva come out. I always thought Kevin Childs owned the magazine.
Why did you think that?
Because that's what I heard.
Where did you hear that?
people inside the prison said Cav got
Who gossips more than niggas in prison?
Because Cav was in,
Women in the nail salon?
he was in we all was in the federal prison, but he was in there at the same time I was in there.
Mm-hmm.
So they was like Cav and his girl, they got a magazine, and we was getting a lot of the magazine. A lot of people supporting getting magazines inside.
That was the setup. That was the setup.
He had the magazine.
Well, this is why so many people, and this gets back to the socioeconomic conditions of the people in the environments we come from, who have never built anything, never established anything, never created anything. I'm talking about most of them never opened a spot, never created a crew, never ran a spot, a block. They don't know how anything is built. They were brought into something. Hey, all right, man, you stand behind the door. You stand in the hallway. Or you stand right here in this corner. Okay, that's your part. That's all they know. They don't know nothing about creating anything. So they don't know what is required to create something. But in order to create something, you need the financial and intellectual resources. You need the money and the know-how. Okay, all right? Kevin didn't have any money to put into Don Diva magazine. He was in prison. What monies he did have, because he was known to be a beneficent person. It's kind of a Scorpio thing. His birthday, my birthday, same day. If we got it, people who we care about, they gonna get it. That's how we are, right? So people took advantage of him while he was away. And when Don Diva started, Kevin didn't have no money to put in no magazine. He was in jail. He didn't have no money to put in no magazine. The money that we used to start Don Diva, which meant to get the equipment. At that time, you had to buy programs for certain type of things. Remember how programs would come on the CD, and shit would be like, some of them programs was thousands of dollars and all type of shit, and you needed certain type of computers. Mostly,
they call it analog.
Mostly
Macs.
Mostly Macs you needed back then, right?
Yeah, you did.
So now, the guy whom that money came from was a guy who owned a company called Harp, right? It was a boutique record label. He, as it turns out, was and I had never heard of this until he caught this situation, a weed kingpin. Okay, he was a Jamaican dude, older dude, real good dude. Me and him, later, years after all of this, me and him got very, very close. He made his way back from Jamaica, because they deported him after they took $13 million from him on a pallet. He was trying to sneak out the country because he realized that the niggas in his crew had flipped, but he realized it too late, right? So by the time he knew the feds were there, he could see them. It's like, oh fuck, shit, you know what I mean? Type shit. It's too late then, right? But this nigga took care of Christina Aguilera and all that before she blew up. This dude had a lot of fucking money, right? So he would give. Tiffany worked for him. Tiffany worked. She ran Harp for him, right? So this was up in you go past New Rochelle, right? It's New Rochelle. I think the office, I remember correctly, his office was on Broadway or something like that, right? So that's where Ty's office was, Harp, and that's where Tiffany was running this company. So he had a bunch of artists. He had Tisha Campbell's younger brother, who's a rapper. He had Spraga. Spraga always win no matter what, right? He had this young lady named, she called herself Bonnie Clyde, right? And gorgeous, natural body, like something you buy, gorgeous girl. Shout out Bonnie. A so-called street nigga ended up telling on Bonnie, and Bonnie ended up getting sent back to Africa. When I remember.
Oh wow!
But he's supposed to be a street nigga, and he told on this girl.
Right.
But anyway, so Ty had this company going. Tiff is running this company, and Ty catches a case. Now, before Ty caught his case, Ty would give Tiffany a certain amount of money to run things for his organization, and for the most part, it was to pay his rent in this big ass office, and to really take care of these artists. he was taking care of them. They're like his children. He was just taking care of them. Let's give this one, you know, a few thousand, I want a few thousand, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Just keep him straight, whatever, and, you know, pay for recording and pay for this one to get dance classes and shit like that. It was just something to fucking do, right? And so, right before he got popped, he had given her probably like $300,000. Now I noticed because he told me this years later. After all this, I left Don Diva, all that was all, and me and him connected, right? And he said, yeah, I'd give her like 300,000, 350,000, for, you know, right before they grabbed me, right? So, you know, he would give her these funds so that she could take care of these things with him. So when this happened, it was like, okay, Ty being under the situation he is, it's reasonable to assume that there won't be any large lump sums forthcoming going forward in the foreseeable future. So you got to figure out how to stretch this out. I mean, if we just keep paying the rent and keep taking care of these people, whatever, the money will be gone, and then that'll be that, and then it'll be what the fuck, right? So she says, you know, I don't want to keep trying to manage these people, manage these artists, 'cause that's really what she was really a den mother, right? I want to do something else. So she calls me and says something. She's in the office. I'm in Harlem at my chick house, right? I'm visiting from Atlanta. I'm in Harlem. Because I still live in the house that I bought for her in Atlanta, right? So I'm at my chick's house, and Tiff calls me and says, yo, we got to figure this shit out, man. Like, I want to do something else. You know, I want to keep this blowing the money on these people. So I said, well, what you want to do? She said, I want to like do some I want to create a company, you know, because the funds is there. And she ain't like, I'm not asking her how much and all that, whatever. None of that matters. I've always been able to rely on Tiffany. She's always been responsible. She's always been resilient. You know what I mean? When we were together, if I said, you know what, babe, I want to figure out this, that, or the other. She would go get 10 books on a Thursday or Friday. By Monday, she's read the motherfuckers. Okay, Daddy, this is how we do it. So that's why even after we separated, I still kept her close.
Right.
She's a fucking asset.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he's like, how you can do business with her? Because I'm a grown motherfucking man. Like, well, how you let her boyfriend get involved? Because I'm a grown motherfucking man. Like, what the fuck? What do I care? I had a whole life before I met this girl. She was 19 years old. I had damn near adult children by the time I met her. The fuck? So once we...
So this in the 90s?
Yeah.
When y'all creating it?
No, this is 99. This is 99 this is happening.
So 99, y'all, this is going down.
This is 99.
This is a deep story. Go ahead.
Right, this is 99. Right? So, because the thing is this, man. It's important, apparently, that people get even though most people won't be able to accept the facts because they've already hardwired themselves into this fallacy, right? But these are the fucking facts, and they can't be negated. They won't be changed 1,000 years from now. They'll still be the same. Okay. So when this conversation we're having, she goes, I said, well, what do you want to call the company? She said, I don't know. You know, you're the creative one. We'll come up with something. I go, okay. Prior to her getting involved with the situation with Ty, she had been involved with Darren, Dean, and the whole Rough Rider situation, right? So she was
she used to work for Rough Riders first?
Yeah, like they used her credit cards to set up the if I remember her telling me this correctly, they used her credit cards to set up the phone lines in the office they had down there. I think that was like 54th or like that.
At this time, you wasn't involved.
That's what
No. This is after we separated. So you know,
because they company when their company started like 97, Rough Riders.
Probably
about that 97.
Like that. Right, but
maybe
98. But this is before that. This is when they just opened their office.
Okay.
Right. So this is their first office, their first phone lines, but they needed credit for the phone line.
And she used their credit.
So she used her credit to do the phone line thing. Right. So you know she's telling me this. She's like, this is what's happening, whatever. Right. You know, I'm still in the street. I'm still fucking around. Right. So, you know, when she was working with them, they used to call her. She ain't no bigger than a minute, but she's got a little like bulldog type of character, right? To get things done. So they started calling her Teflon. the Teflon Don.
Like Teflon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So I said, yo, call it Teflon. She said, nah, that's too personal. I said, okay, well, call it the Don. And then Bonnie walks in the office on speakerphone. Bonnie walks in the office and says, what about the girl, the ladies? You can't forget about the ladies. What about the divas? I said, okay, let's call it Don Diva. That's how it happened.
Oh,
Okay, that's the story,
I
y'all.
said,
That's the
okay,
story.
let's call it Don
make it.
Diva. That's how I created the name Don Diva.
There we go. To make it a Don
A
Diva.
Don is a man at the top of his game. A diva is a
It's a
woman at the top
woman.
of a game.
There it is.
Makes sense. Don Diva Entertainment. The first logo that I had dude make, the first D in Don was a half of a CD for music. The second D was a half of a film reel. You know, movie film, half of a film reel. So you cut a circle in half, it's a D. All right. And entertainment, not magazine,
Right.
entertainment. So if it was someone's idea to make a magazine, why didn't it say magazine? Don Diva
Diva
Entertainment
Entertainment.
was what we were doing.
With entertainment, a lot of things falls under there.
Right.
Right.
Magazine wasn't one of them. Nobody was thinking no magazine. And none of us got no background in magazine, none of shit like that.
So this is good.
Let me jump in real quick and we
This
can
is-
jump back
yeah,
out.
Yeah, 'cause you got a lot of
Like you, Doc. I heard the same thing. Yo, Kevin Child got the Don Diva.
Because
magazine.
niggas love to talk about things that they love to
Right.
talk about people who, if I say this name, you're going to think something about me that's not true. You're going to think, I've said this name, I'm going to hit that nigga hit me know about people.
Right. Wow.
Most niggas in the fucking
See?
hood are squares, my nigga. They squares. They just think because they talk like street niggas, because our vernacular was once particular to street people, right? When I was growing up, street people talk like that. Check that out. Regular people didn't talk like that.
Right.
In the hood, they didn't talk like that. They talked like their grandparents from the South. They didn't talk like that. Street people had a vernacular that was particular to their lifestyle and the clandestineness of that lifestyle. Regular people have no need to call something other than what it is. What are they hiding? That wasn't a regular street person or regular person in a neighborhood type of thing, right? But as the culture became more assimilated into mainstream, people in the hood started saying things that were particular to people in the street, started using our vernacular, started talking like us. You know what I mean? And that's how, that whole idea of being able to sound like a street person, even if I'm not a street person, I can don some of the coolness of them by talking like they do. Yeah, I'm saying, like, check this 5, like, on some real shit, da, da, da. Okay, gotta go to school now, bye.
Wow.
Most
never heard
niggas
this
in the
story here,
hood
man.
are squares.
So go ahead, V, you had the question before. Go ahead. So you said you heard the same thing I had.
I heard the same thing you heard. I ain't never heard this story, man. I like to hear real stories, man, coming from the real sources.
Ask a
You know?
critical question.
Yeah.
If he started it from prison, how? How?
How does the name get attached?
How? Because Tiffany was his girl.
Okay.
Right? So this is the beautiful thing about it, right? This is what I understood that made the our situation so unique and unbeatable. Prior to doing the magazine, I had been writing 8 to 12 hours a day working on this for 2 years. I started writing this almost immediately after I retired in July of '97, right? And so writing, I was doing writing like a job. So that skill set, which I always had an aptitude for, as I said, my first grade teacher said, you write well.
Very well, yeah.
I didn't know that was a vocation,
Right.
right? So when this thing, this next thing that I'm gonna share happens, and it's, let's do this, I'm already in that lane. I'm already writing like a
So
motherfucker.
she knew you was a writer. So
Of
that's why
course.
she said.
She was
and
my girl
knew
for
you
7 years. Of course you know that.
She knew you was a businessman.
She knew I was an intelligent man
Okay.
who was built a certain way. She knew that I'm a man that is regarded, revered, and respected. She knew that. She knew she could walk around and say offhanded shit to niggas like, shout out to Mike Boogie. Share a story. Mike Boogie came to me one day and said, and we was in the rink or I don't know, maybe drink. And he goes, yo, Cavario, man, yo, you gotta talk to Tiffany, man. I said, why? He said, what's up? People always complain to me about her. I said, why? What's up? He go, yo, man, I walk up to her in Flashing, right? Tony Marindas used to be on the
Flashing, yeah.
So I walk into Flashing, and I see it. I say, what's up, Tiff? And she turned around and said to me, "Beat it, cocksucker. You know how I'm rolling with." And he was like, "Yo, bro, she put a skirt on me right there." Like, what the fuck? And I was like, bro, you got a partner, man, you know. But she knew she could get away with shit like that because she knew that motherfuckers wasn't challenging me. Right? So that's how she was. So she knew what kind of man I was, whatever. So, you know, she knew all my aptitudes, is what I'm saying. Right? So boom, okay. But now, you gotta think now, we're still not thinking doing a magazine. We're not thinking doing a magazine. Nobody's thinking this. Okay. So we come up with the name, and then the idea, and she tells me this. She goes, well, all right, we're gonna create this promotion program, promotion campaign. And she says, she calls one day, she says, Kev said he thinks that we should, you know, like do something more elaborate than just the flyers. We should do something, you know, substantial, like a book or something. And I said, okay, that sounds like a good idea. She goes, we're gonna get some pictures, you know, gonna holler at Alex, which is Alex.
Alex. We talked about Alex last week on the show too.
Peaceful journey, Alex.
Yeah.
That man been photographing me since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're gonna get these pictures. Alex gonna give you these pictures. Okay. I think Kev hollered at Jewel, and Jewel hollered at Alex to get the pictures. So we put this together. This is just a promo for Don Diva Entertainment. In it is it's an excerpt from my original book concept, which was, the original concept was The Hustler. The subtitle was My Life in Death, right? And it's a silhouette of me with chains and a skull face, and an excerpt from the book, right? And then there's a letter from Kev, but everything else is all black and white pictures, mostly from early 90s, maybe a couple late 80s, early 90s to like latter 90s. This is 99, so this is maybe pictures up until maybe 96 or something like that. People you hadn't seen, people who went out of town to go get money and never came back again, you know, people, you gotta realize that this is something that's important. The framework, the mental frame that you need to be in as you listen to these things is that people who are in this, who are paying attention to this kind of stuff, are the poor people who live in those tenement buildings up and down 7th, 8th Avenue, up and down 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue, Lenox Avenue, you know, all about, like, we know who our people are. Most of them do not have much education, they have no exposure. Their perception of things is skewered in terms of the reality of those things. That's the truth. That is by design, but it is the truth. They don't see things the way that they really are. They don't. And because they don't move outside their space, they have a collective influence. I'm thinking the same way you're thinking the same way I'm thinking. Our thinking must be correct. And we're not going to be challenged because we're not going to move outside of our space. So we'll never be challenged on our thinking. We'll never go, well, why do you think that? That'll never happen because we'll never be around anybody who don't think differently, right? And if we do, we'll just gang up on them, right? So now you got these people who are in these pictures, right? And you know, this was a picture of a group of them when they all had on suits, you know. So this picture, the people in our neighborhoods who are not street people, who just happen to be from bad neighborhoods, think they know street things, and they look at this picture and they don't have exposure to all the other mitigating circumstances, and they go, look at this picture, they must have been living like this. And they make up the shit they don't have no access to because they don't know any of the people in those pictures. They don't know the truth of reality. They don't know that that suit was borrowed, That suit was old as hell. You know, that jewelry isn't real. Like, they don't know none of that stuff. They look at this image and they're expounding in their mind, their imagination, what it must have been, because they like to believe the legend.
Mm-hmm.
And don't bother them with the truth. They go, tell me the truth, man. I need fantasy. I don't like my reality. Because
Right.
my reality is fucked up because I'm poor and I'm ignorant. I like fantasy. Right? It's like a lot of people gonna be responding to this. They're gonna respond to that just like, oh man, nigga know what the fuck he talking about. Man, I believe this because I believe it. And I'm not gonna listen to the person who was there and did it. I've already committed to this idea. In fact, I've been telling this to other people like I know it, like I was there.
Right. Right.
So now this is all these pictures. You know, you got pictures of Preacher, you got pictures of Doo-Wop, you got pictures of fucking Jack, Big Jack,
Pistol
like,
Pete.
you know, all kinds of people, right? Chrissy and all of them, you know, from back in the days, right?
Yeah.
All these pictures. So it's very nostalgic. 500 copies, bought with Ty's money, right? Overpaid for, very poorly made, but just promos. So Tiff calls me when they're done, when it's been printed, and she goes, "Okay, yo, we got these magazines in. We got 500 of them. We gotta sell these shits. Gotta get Ty's money back. We gotta sell these shits, right?" Okay.
Oh, Ty wanted to hit his 300,000
No,
back?
Ty was in prison. Ty don't know none of this. All Ty's saying is, you know, like, you know, just are my kids okay? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right.
So he gave it 300,000. That was
Right.
just to give it.
But that was just
Okay.
you know, run the business for the next couple of months. This wasn't after he got busted. This was before he got busted. This was just his regular thing. He would give her a certain amount of money and then, okay, you run that. You know what you're doing. You know, just receipts, whatever have you, whatever, right?
So y'all create Don Diva Entertainment.
So we create Don Diva Entertainment. We create this promo, and I'm moving around Harlem because it's predominantly Harlem in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
former drug dealers.
same gang, a bunch of pictures of same gang. Back when Puff was doing party promotions and all that, and everybody's on those pictures, whatever. Very nostalgic.
Right.
People hadn't seen people that they knew or themselves in a magazine
Right.
before. It was like validation.
Yeah.
Look, it's me. I was there and I knew them and we did this.
Told you I was getting money.
Told y'all. Lying their ass off. Lying their ass off. For real. A lot of niggas was around, but just because you was in that picture doesn't mean you were a part of this. You just seen us taking a picture, and how many people like photobombing they knew? How many times niggas been taking pictures and there's a certain group of niggas and the nigga that's like cool with somebody in the picture will jump in.
Yeah,
I was in the
And now
I was
that
in the
picture
Don Diva
becomes a
record.
historical piece. 20 years later, they telling people, yeah, it's me and my crew. It's a
Because
grandson.
what he's saying right
your
now,
grandfather
I
was
was in
getting
Don
it.
Diva, not to cut you off, right? But I wasn't in the Don Diva because of me. I was in the Don Diva because Unique had me in the picture at Club 2000.
Yep.
But he asked me, he said, yo, V. He's like, yo, I'm about to, because that's when he was locked up. He got somebody to call me. He's like, yo, V, I'm about to put these pictures. I respect him for that too, though.
Well, I mean, you know, old school rules.
Old school rules. I'm about to put these pictures up, but you going to be in one of the pictures. So, all right. I said, go ahead, put it up, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? And I see me in there with, with the champagne and all that shit. And, so I know what you're talking about, It was a lot of Harlem glorious dudes was in there.
That's
And
a
they
good idea.
spotlighted a few people who was winning at the time, and everybody ran with it.
And you know what happens with that kind of peripheral inclusion from that point forward?
Yeah.
If you was in there in 2001, 2 months after you're in, it's like, yo, I'm in. No, yo, you in the Don Diva, right? Yeah, I'm in the Don Diva shit. Yeah, I'm in there, whatever. I know I'm not really significant in the story, but yeah, I mean, you can picture me in there, whatever. A year from then, yo, I'm in that Don Diva shit. So they had me in the Don Diva. Nigga.
What's up, man? I was getting it.
Because it blew up crazy.
Bunch of fucking psychos, bro.
So
They broke us, bro.
Yeah.
Bunch of dumb motherfuckers, my nigga.
So I'm,
lost and delusional, bro. So hold on now. So I'm moving around with this thing, and everybody's going crazy. Oh, so nostalgic. Let me. And we trying to figure out the price. What's the price? Oh, yo, I think the most I can really get these all for a tip is like $20. All right, we gonna sell them for $20. Then we can sell them. Okay. Where do we congregate? Fuck it. I'm gonna go to the barbershop. Going to barbershop. because that's where the people whom this would be of significance to are, and that's where they're sitting still. This is long before phones became your preoccupation.
Yeah.
There was no smartphones. You got on the phone, you made a call, you got on the phone.
2000,
That was
wasn't
that.
it?
Right.
That was it.
Right.
There was no going off into the atmosphere and forgetting where the fuck you are, walking down the street, walk across the street into traffic.
Another place I saw was the corner newsstands.
Right.
The little newsstand we
the
had on the corner.
newsstands, yeah.
Well,
Harlem had a lot of
Lot of
newsstands
yes,
when we
a
grew
lot
up.
of
of
newsstands.
newsstands.
We grew up with newsstands.
My first newsstand, the first newsstand that Don Diva was ever on belonged to my man Mike. It was a guy from my neighborhood on 15th Street. His newsstand was on 122nd and Lenox Avenue, just inside the block. Old school, like we grew
Old
up
school,
with,
yeah.
type newsstand. Type of shit that looked like it, that motherfucker gone.
Yeah.
Right? That was the first newsstand Don Diva was ever on. I placed it there with Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
So now people are buying it. I'm going into the barbershops, and you know, I'm doing the only thing I've ever known to do. Remember, my education is strictly the streets. So everything I'm doing, remember, foundation. My foundation is these. So whatever the principles and ideas of my foundation are, which is the streets, everything I do, everything I learn after that is built on top of that. You know, like when you build a house, foundation concrete, everything else on top. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever is built on top is only as solid as the foundation. You could build a beautiful fucking house up there, but that foundation made of mud, that house is coming down. In the dig? So the foundation of my understanding operations is the street. So what do I know? I know get the work, I know flip the work, I know put a team together, you know what I mean? And I know build the package. Got 500, next one get 1,000. Got 1,000, next one get 5,000. That's what I know. That's business as I understand it. Okay?
Gotcha.
Okay. So I go into the barbershops, I catch people, they sitting there, you ain't got nothing else to do. Check that out, check that out, check that out, check that out, check that out. Niggas getting into it, niggas getting into it, niggas getting into it. Okay. All right, man, let me get those. Oh, man, how much you want for them, John? Oh, it's $20. Oh, let me get, no. Quick, 200-300. Barber is always one that's a hustler. Okay? Right.
Yeah.
So, yo, let me, yo, what's up with them things, man? Yo, you should let me rock with them joints while, you know, you come back and just, okay, well, do 'em. Here's 10. You give me 15, take 5 for yourself. Now, a lot of barbers, especially back then, had never been in the street. But of course, almost everybody that gets in their chair is in the street and telling and has, you know, stories of daring do from the street, right? So it's like I get a chance to kind of tap in with that. I got the work. I got the work that niggas want. You know what I'm saying? I'm making my PC. And those are the first cats I had moving the magazine.
Smart.
And I just went to every fucking barbershop.
Right.
And did the same thing over and over and over again. So one day, I'm on
Get the likes up, y'all.
Yeah, I'm on the corner of 145th Street. It's now a Bank of America, but it used to be a bodega, 145th on southwest corner.
What was same name?
145th and 8th Ave.
8th.
There's a bodega right there. So I'm in there one day, and my little bro, 40, Airy, right? He's in there, and yo, Bob, yo, man, I like that magazine, man. When you gonna do another issue of that? So I'm like, what magazine? He goes, you know, the Don Diva magazine. The first time I ever heard the words Don Diva magazine was out of 40's mouth.
Wow.
Never had it occurred to us. When he said it, I swear to you on everything, in the back of my head I heard, boom, like a faint bell on everything, bro. I said, yo, we'll be right back with that next month. That was in December of 99. That's why this says 1999 in Roman numerals. Because that is when the concept was born, the magazine concept.
Okay.
So I go outside, go to the phone, I call Tim, I say, yo, motherfuckers think it's a magazine.
So that was just a promo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Now I hear that people got some promo.
So
Yeah.
that's what we call the reflections.
Yeah.
So she says, yo, they saying the same thing to Kevin in jail. I say, yo, fuck that managing artist shit. And this is what we need to do. Now, of course, my mind is inclined to that because I'm already writing 12 hours a fucking day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's easy for you.
And yeah.
Magazine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
And you getting the interviews.
I mean, but I never was one that made a determination about whether I was going to do something or not do something based upon my perception of the ease of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it no matter what it is.
Right.
I ain't never met a time toughening myself. You understand? So I was just ecstatic about this aligning up with an interest that had become central to me, which is this writing shit, right? So we decided this is what we're going to do. So now we start, okay, we're doing a magazine. Where do we start? All right, we need to find a printer, like a real printer, right? So Tiffany comes from a corporate background. She was attending Fairleigh Dickinson when we got together. So she got a bachelor's in science from Fairleigh Dickinson. You know, she didn't work much when we were together because she was taking care of my kids. But, and she didn't have to. I provided everything she needed. You don't have to work. I need you here to hold my kids down. So
That wasn't her kids though.
No, she was a kid. She was 19 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like her and my kids, they're basically all the same. She was really like my oldest kid, in reality. You know what I mean? I had a bunch of different broads and all that, whatever. So she was just the chick I had in my house taking care of my kids, and that's really what it was. You know what I mean? She was invaluable to me because she had so much understanding of the mainstream world, and I did not. I did not know anything about opening a bank account. I didn't know anything about signing a check. All I knew how to do was make money and spend money. That's all I knew to do, right? So she brought something that was useful for me, which if you are a hardcore street nigga for real, you know that there's really nobody that is in your space that does not serve some practical purpose, no matter how much you like them, love them, care about them. If they don't serve some practical purpose, doing something, they really fall the fuck off out of your life.
Right.
Especially when you're moving at the pace that I was moving, right? Anybody moving at that rate of speed in the street is definitely like, well, what you doing? You ain't doing nothing. What you doing? Like, what's on the board? What are my pieces? You know what I mean? I'm moving pieces constantly, right? So we go to do this first issue, right? And we put a concept Bugatti in the front. We put the blinging letters on the front, which Vibe ended up stealing that idea from us. They stole a lot of shit from us. There's a picture of Jermaine Dupri's hand from a party in Atlanta holding a bottle of Cristal. That's on there. Like, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Half the magazine was color, half of it was black and white. More than half. And we had one side that was the entertainment side, so it was like this, but the other side, you flip it like this, and it's an other cover, and that's the street side.
Yeah, I see it, yeah.
Right? And so we were just making things up as we were going along, whatever.
Yeah.
Paid $7 for each magazine, got 1,000, paid $7,000 for 1,000 magazines, which is fucking ridiculous. But we didn't know. We didn't know shit. And I let her handle that kind of stuff because she knew how to handle that kind of stuff. Get me the motherfucking, give me the work, I'm gonna run it.
Right.
You dig? So she got the magazines printed. We went and it was me, her, and Susan Hampstead. Now, this is between me calling her and say, yo, they think it's a magazine, and us moving forward. While I'm running around doing what I'm doing in Harlem and uptown, she and Susan Hampstead, who was with us at this beginning of this, right? She and Susan are in Miami at How Can I Be Down? And they're out there promoting the entertainment company, giving out the magazines and stuff like that, right? And she goes, when they get back, Susan told me this, like years later. I had already left Don Diva and all that. She says, when we got back from How Can I Be Down, there were a bunch of messages on the phone at the office. And she said a bunch of the messages were, yo man, can we get that, what's up with that magazine? We want to see more of that magazine, whatever. And she said Tiff's response was, fuck, it didn't work. They think it's a fucking magazine. That was her response. That was what Susan said. That's her response. Fuck, it didn't work. They think it's a magazine. The promo campaign failed. Right? So then we go on to, start like fumbling and stumbling into
Someone
making
said
this fucking
talking to the
magazine.
mic.
Then we made the effort to start creating this magazine, start doing this magazine, So that is how the brand was accidentally born. So from that point forth, I'm just grinding. And I'm on some just regular shit. I'm just being a regular person or whatever. But then it occurred to me, every time I went up to somebody and said, I started going to the clubs, started taking pictures of people, and telling them I'm gonna put them in the magazine and stuff like that. And, 'cause they had a nice outfit on, I'll take a picture of them, And when people started seeing themselves in the magazine, they started saying, yo, you gotta get this magazine, I'm in it.
They promoting.
Promoting.
That is how
Self-promote.
put it out there. That's how I spread it out there.
Right.
And I started in Harlem, then went to the Bronx, then went to Brooklyn, and I would go to the newsstands. At first, the newsstands was like, if there's no demand for it, I don't want to give it space on mine.
Yeah.
Right.
I said, well, I'm gonna introduce it to you now. It's called Don Diva. Watch how many people start asking you for it. The first newsstand on 42nd Street, the first mainstream, not the mom and pop shit like my man Mike, the first mainstream newsstand was on 42nd Street when you come out of the train station at 42nd Street at the corner of 42nd and Broadway. There's a newsstand right there. That was the first person I talked to, an Arab dude.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him about the magazine. I stood there, pitched to him for about 15 minutes. So then I come back about maybe a month later, and he goes, hey man, a bunch of people asked me for this Don Diva magazine. You got him, right? I said, yeah. He said, man, come on, I need him. So I started giving them to him on consignment, right? I think I was charging him maybe $3.50, so they can make $1.50 over each one,
Right.
which is more than they make off of most other magazines at that time. Right? When the new issue comes out, not only because normally if a magazine comes out, any issues from the previous magazine or previous release that don't sell, they rip the covers off, throw the magazine away, and return the covers in lieu of what have been a payment to the person, to the company they got it from. So this is how you know I didn't sell it. Here's the ripped cover. Nobody bought no magazine without no cover on it. Here's your ripped cover, so don't look for money for this one. Okay? If you got 1,000 of those, that's 1,000 less times whatever it was would be giving you for each magazine that you should expect to see. Okay. With Don Diva, it was a whole new phenomenon because the magazine they were able to sell for $5 when it first came out, when a new one comes out and it's $5, that old one I can now sell it for $10 because the demand is much higher than the availability. I kept it exclusive on purpose. They were able to. They used to love. Sometimes they would take magazines. They would get a certain amount of magazines, and they would stash a certain amount.
Yeah.
Because they know
When
everybody else run out, these shits is going up. That's why they were willing to give me $2,500 up front. I had a guy who owned. His name was Ali. He owned the newsstand on 42nd and 8th, 42nd and 6th, 42nd and Broadway, 34th Street, 14th Street, and 5th Avenue. All the major, Wall Street, all the major joints. He owned them all. And I was introduced to him by one of those guys, and he was buying 1,000 magazines pre-purchase. So
he's buying pre-purchase?
Yes, just like Tower Records, just like all the other, just like the dudes. When I went into other cities, I would establish retailers, right? I'd go into a city and I'd be like, okay, you got a store, I'm gonna sell you so many at this price, you got a store, I'm gonna sell you something like this. So you might take 20, you might take 50, you might take 50, you might take 50, you know what I mean, like that. Okay, now I got 10 retailers who are buying collectively, 500 to 1,000 magazines, okay? Now remember, we come out every 90 days. So for 3 months, they have the time to sell these magazines. After I establish 10 strong retailers, then I go and find somebody in that town and I say, look, you want to be Don Diva here? You pre-purchase them from me, right? You buy 1,000 of them pre-purchased, And when you get them, they're already sold. Everybody whom I've already established as my client is going to come here to your location and cop their magazines. And to know that they don't have to wait until I get through Baltimore, DC, Richmond, Virginia Beach, this one, that one. Because once I come through with the van, I drop off, and then you ain't gonna see me again. If you sell out, you ain't gonna see me again until I make my way back.
Right.
But if I got somebody there, you can just go see them. So they're not apprehensive about making the investment of their money because they know they're already sold. When the magazines come, they're already sold because I already got my clientele all around your city who are already buying it. They're just gonna be buying them from you now.
Mm-hmm.
I did that in Chicago, I did that in Detroit, I did that all over the fucking country. I did that because you had to be on the street and built a certain way to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Newark, New Jersey in the motherfucking projects. Niggas standing with bundles in their hands going, yo, that's crazy right there. Yo, what's up? Yo, so and so such right here. Yo, that's crazy right there. That's Akbar, right? Oh, that's a man right there.
You start getting other cities.
And I go to Philly because I learned something.
Yeah.
The first time, this first issue we put out that had guys on the cover, Akbar Parade and Aaron Jones out of Philadelphia, right? When I dropped that in Newark, they responded, When I went to Philly with that same issue, Aaron. When I go to B-More, they're like, we got them niggas here. Ours is named this.
Yeah.
I said, okay, no more niggas on the cover. From now on, we'll do a cover that's indicative of a highlight from the street story. So if it's like with Sean and Hartwell out of Elizabethport, New Jersey, the E-Port Posse, right? Young kids. So this particular issue, it was these young kids out of E-Port Posse out of Elizabethport, New Jersey, who were getting a bunch of money. I'm talking about teenagers, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. Their bosses were 18 and 19. These kids was getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. Young kids in the early 80s, right? Then you have Boy George, who by the time Boy went to prison, he was 21 years old. Boy had been getting money for at least 2 years, money, you know what I mean? Another Kid Kingpin, right? So this issue was the Kid Kingpin issue. So instead of putting a picture of George, who people only in the Bronx really knew, or a picture of Sean, who, you know, and the other E-Port Posse members who only people in their area really knew, I put the picture of young kids. Kev's son was on there. Tiffany's little cousin was on there. A couple of other little kids. And it was a scene where it looks like these young kids, these 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, passing keys across the table, got a scale, got a pit bull right here, some guns on the table, and, you know, a picture of the side of them in the fur coats with chains on, stuff like that, you know. And so it wasn't about Boy George or Sean Hartwell or the E-Port Posse. It was about this image. No matter where I went, people could relate to this image.
Yeah.
They could relate to that image. It was a scene, and they could relate to that as opposed to the individual. And so that's how I was able to go from city to city to city and make it expand in those cities, make people respond to in those cities. You cannot do that from a prison cell. If you're not a nigga who has hit the block,
Right.
I had blocks all up and down the East Coast.
Killer.
Richmond, I'm talking about in the dirtiest, grimiest projects in Richmond, in Baltimore, in DC, and I hustled on Sutphin and Foch in 84 in Queens, in motherfucking Jamaica, Queens, in South Jamaica, when South Jamaica was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Harlem, the Bronx, Connecticut, like not pitching packages to somebody and say, you can go out there and do that? I come. Head on a motherfucking swivel, 10 toes down, my block. And then I take a large chunk of the fucking money and don't nobody move me, ever, anywhere. You have to be built that way in order for you to be able to go out and do with Don Diva what I did in Don Diva in the places I did it in. And you can't do it from a prison cell. So if you're not putting up the money and you're not writing the articles, doing the interviews, taking the pictures, and these pictures you're taking are unique to your experience, they're unique to your relationships, right? I couldn't get another person. For the first 4 years, I took all the pictures myself because I could not import my access and my relationships to photographers for them to be able to be in certain environments to take pictures. It was just me. It was just my relationships. I was there because of who I am. I just happened to have a camera with me. So I was able to take pictures that no one else is able to get, which is what also made Don Diva very exclusive. You were gonna see things in my magazine that you were just not gonna see anywhere else because they were unique to relationships. Can't do that from prison. And you can't do that if you're not made a certain way. You have to be made a certain way. That's the reality of it. Remember I said earlier about how people are very quick to believe something that suits their idea of a person? Because they have no idea how anything is built. They never built anything. If they was on the street, they worked for somebody. And when they got there, the spot was already established. And you just stand here and you do this your shift. They don't know how that shit was put together. They don't know that at some point, there was nothing happening here. Somebody structured this and made this a place that people come to and drop hundreds of dollars of their money every fucking day, and thousands of people do it. They didn't know nothing about that. They never built anything. They never built a restaurant. They never built a company. They never built anything. So it's easy for them to believe, disconnected from any points of reality, that somebody could do something from a position and condition where nothing can be done. It's easy for them to believe that because they ain't never did nothing. They don't know what the space is between an idea and an execution. They don't have no idea what happens in between that space because they never done anything. They've never done anything. At this point, most of them don't know how to fill out a fucking job application. They don't know shit from Shinola. That's why I never feel the need to respond to the fucking comments. Because it would be pearl before swine. What am I talking to you about? You haven't qualified yourself or quantified how it is that you are worthy of a response from a motherfucker who've walked the fucking walk.
Cavario giving it up, y'all. This is the deep interview. It's a big interview, man. Hit that like button. Hit the like buttons.
Because like he said, we didn't know. Like I said, we all was in jail around at that time it came out. And all we knew that this was what happened, and you know, and we've seen the magazines, and like you said, it was sold out. You know, people calling home, bring them down. Like, and it's funny you said that because whoever get it is like the man. Like whoever get it first, and then you pass it on. You know how that be when he finished. Yo, especially when you dudes get mad when you take locked up.
Yo, man. I heard you got that Don Diva, man. Yo, can I get on the list, man?
People had no bullshit.
That Don Diva
it was a list.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm on full. And people, you have to hurry and read that thing. You take long, people like, yo, hold on.
Good,
yo, you take a forever.
Hey, bring my shit back the way I gave it to you, man. Don't be fucking up the
So
cover.
it goes like this. The first person
and I don't want my pages sticking together either. The sticky pages, I don't want them sticking together.
And when they do the mail call, people like this. So they go,
oh, shit.
Allen. And they see that joint.
Niggas be like, yo, let me
Soon you get that joint, you go to your room.
Yeah, niggas be on
you
your
got people
back.
behind you. Yo, I'm next. So you got a list of guys behind you. Because it's like that. Cause like
That's
I said,
a phenomenon.
And then, like I said, being in the feds, a lot of guys y'all had in magazines in the feds. So it really like kind of, they might just left another spot where the person in there that's in there like, oh, that's my man. So it was crazy. Like you said, how people, like you said with the books, they really wanted it, right, V?
Yeah.
And
but no, like I told you, dude pulled me on your V. I see him the Don Diva, and I know I only got a little picture at the party. Yeah. I say, word, I say, I heard. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't featured.
Right.
But the fact that just being in motherfuckers feeling
it,
it.
like you said,
it didn't hurt your reputation.
Not at all.
And like you said,
not at all.
The key was the time it came out where the cell phones wasn't about that. Now dudes inside cell
Right.
phones. It's like it's different.
Right.
But the time of the magazine. Yeah. But what I want to say this, right, and this is crazy because this is very important too. And I think that people do need to realize this because I remember my first time I saw, when I was like younger, and I saw my mom, like my stepfather and father talking. I'm like, oh shit, they cool, they talking like, when we come up, you think it's always like problems. But this is very important. You said you stopped dealing with her, and you kept her. She's an asset, and you said you had her boyfriend working with you. A lot of people ain't doing that.
Cause they ain't built right.
A lot of people.
I'm an actual man. I'm a grown motherfucking man. I'm a self-assured man. I'm not threatened by anybody at all. The man wanted to come and contribute and help make this thing do what we believed it could do. And Tiffany, right before he came home, Tiffany was like, man, I am burnt out. I'm done with this shit, whatever. I was like, nigga, you got me into this shit. Ain't no way in the fucking world you gonna abandon me, motherfucking now. I was like, yo, dude, when you come home, you gotta get in. You gotta get down. You know what I mean? And I didn't know anything about Kev outside of the things I'd heard in terms of like, he was always known to be a nice guy, a good guy who looked out for people, whatever. I never heard anything bad about him except maybe he might have been a little heavy-handed with women. That's all I ever heard about him. But that was par for the course with dudes in the street. So, you know, I didn't agree with that. My mother killed her husband. You dig what I'm saying? And made another one disappear. So, you know, I didn't believe in the putting your hands on a woman thing, like as no, you know, just regular means of fucking communication or getting your point across. Right? But outside of that, I had never heard nothing derogatory about him ever. Right? So I looked forward to him coming home. And the fact that his birthday and my birthday on the same day, I really I kind of assumed a lot of things would be true about his character. I knew that, as far as I knew, he hadn't told on anybody, and he was facing some pretty severe consequences. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that was enough for me to be like, yo. And besides, she was like my child. So if it makes you happy, she called me the day. She called me. I was at my house. I was in Atlanta, and she called me, and I was just about to come up top, and she said, "Yo, so I've been kicking it with the guy, Kevin. We're going up there to go see." She started going to the prison to go see a guy named Terrence. Terrence is a guy she grew up with, and they might have been like little boyfriend girlfriends when they were little kids, when teenagers, right? So, and I knew Terrence by way of her. He was one of the guys who was involved with that crew of kids who were going and breaking into people's houses, all of it, Alpine, all kind of shit. Breaking
I heard about that.
That's my cousin, man.
They made a fucking movie about it.
That's my cousin.
Right.
Yeah.
So they made a movie about it, right?
007 crew.
Takers.
007.
Right. Okay. They even had that. Remember that 7 he had? Dame had that 7 in there with the stashes in there.
Yeah,
right?
the stash box.
Right.
That's my cousin.
Yeah, actually in the movie, but this is a real car they used to use. They used to go in people's houses, break in, and then driving away. But they have the shit stashed.
James Bond crew, man.
Right.
Called
the James Bond crew, right? Yeah. So when we were together,
I didn't know that.
She wanted to go and visit him, you know, because I mean, this child's friend, this motherfucker, he's locked up, and he's not a street person.
No, he's not.
Not a street person. So him being in the feds, it's like, this is really like fucking heavy. Yeah. So, you know, I was like, you can't go see him, because at this point, my uncle Butch Cassidy had been popped. My crew, Sex Money, they picking us up all over the fucking place. You dig what I'm saying?
What, Sex
I'm
Money?
like,
You was cool with them?
Cool, that was my crew.
I ain't know that.
Castro was my partner.
John Castro.
Yeah.
That's my
I ain't know that.
Okay. All of the guys.
All right. X, Yarrow, Pete.
Yeah, I know X, man. X is like,
Yeah. We was all over the motherfucking place. Yeah. People think they know things they don't know. I don't know why. I didn't see y'all motherfuckers out there.
Right.
Why y'all act like I didn't see you out there, and I was out there. I didn't see y'all. The rapping niggas, I ain't see none of y'all.
Yeah, they wasn't out there.
I ain't see none of y'all niggas.
Not
Not
one
of y'all.
Nah, they had no money back then.
And if you claim you was there, then in the fucking world, you can say you didn't see me.
Yeah, they wasn't out there.
'Cause I was out there, nigga. I did the block. I'd be out there 12 hours a motherfucking day watching my crew. And if a nigga ain't moving fast enough, nigga, get out of here. Nigga, let me handle this line. Knock off this quick 60, 70 motherfuckers buying 10, 12 bundles. Real quick, let me grab this quick 25,000 real quick in 7, 8 minutes, motherfucker. Coke out this pocket, dope out this pocket, bum, bum, bum. That's a fake motherfucker 50. Sit your ass there, motherfucker. You ain't moving nowhere. I'll deal with you later. All right, yo, start hitting from the other end right there. Work this line to the motherfucking middle. Clear these people out. We got another fucking whole flow coming in a couple of minutes. I really worked that block. I was a block bomber. You dig? So, like, this idea that you can just jump out there and be this motherfucking person is fucking ridiculous. It's, why you think niggas going to prison? Niggas wasn't going to prison like that back in the days, in the 70s. Niggas wasn't going to prison like that.
No.
Niggas started going to prison like that, but they was jumping the fuck out there and didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Had no idea what they were doing. They stood like this and they went like this, and then I don't know what happens after that. Anything. You know what I mean?
So, and dudes is looking, trying to, a lot of niggas start going to prison. I'm gonna keep it real, you know, because they want to get it down with departure. They get some time. They feel they can tell on another nigga.
Yep.
And then they get some time off their sentence and bring the next nigga in.
Yep.
Now know that once they finish with you, they gonna feed you to the wolves.
That's right.
That's what happened with me. Nigga told on me. You know, I'm gonna keep it told. And then once what he told on me, they put him in the same jail I was in.
I see. I mean,
So when I came into the joint, they told me to come into the sergeant's office. I said, for what? I just got here.
Look,
They're like, yo,
the guy who told
the guy was in there, he's in here. I'm like, whoa. They said, if anything happened to him, you going back to the pen. I'm like, man, I ain't thinking about it. I'm thinking about it, but I'm like, I ain't nah. He said, no, you don't understand. If anything happened to him, so now
you gotta protect this.
Now I gotta protect.
Now you gotta tell
this dude.
niggas, don't do nothing, man.
That's
no,
right.
Nigga, don't do nothing.
I had to tell mad dudes like, yo,
nothing.
V, let me get him because you know, I'm like, nah, you don't understand. If you touch him, I'm fucked around.
Yo,
and I had to do 4 years around a nigga. The nigga working out around me. He playing ball around me. I'm looking at him, a mess all around me. I'm like, man, this shit is whack, man. But I ain't want to go back because I'm doing all right with the bid.
Now, see what you
Fucking
sharing right
bullshit,
there, right?
Yeah.
That right there. That's a pretty significant part of that experience.
Man,
When cats are getting in the street, making the decision, gonna get out there, gonna get this work, they gonna get out there and they gonna do whatever. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do, nigga. I'm gonna hold it down, whatever. When they're thinking about, I'm prepared for the consequences, that right there, psychological and emotional consequences, you have to deal with, become responsible for the motherfucker who's responsible for you being in here right now.
Crazy, man.
Most motherfuckers don't have the mental capacity to deal with that. That's why a lot of niggas don't ever come home.
Yep.
Because they're not mature enough to make the best self-serving decision. Nah, nigga, I'm still playing the role. So, you know, the role I'm playing requires that, oh, the nigga that did that to me is here, I gotta do something. Even though I know it's gonna give me more time and I'm never gonna get the fuck out, I gotta do something. Because I'm caught the fuck up in this.
Caught up in the rapture, man.
This idea.
Nah, my role is
if
go
y'all wanna
home
talk,
now.
If y'all want to talk to Cavario, we have a call in. You can call in 646 628 4264. 646 628 4264. If you want to talk to Cavario,
Call in.
Y'all can call in.
Like us, hit that like button.
So now that was an excellent idea. Like you're going state to state, giving them the magazines. That definitely, I think that took it to the next level.
It was the only thing I knew. Remember, I was a drug dealer. That's all I knew how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one thing about a hustler, no matter what you do, and he's real. And we all can relate to this right now. We gotta, let me tell you something, I gotta say it real quick. I work for a corporate company for advertisement company. I told you this before. I had my own office, own cubicle. This is when Sony, the computer first came up, IBM computers and all that. We talking early in the game when, you know, and I got this little corporate job and I'm still going home. I go to the hood. Niggas like, yo, V, why you got a sports jacket on? You know, but I got to take it off and got to get with them. Long story short, I started hanging out, drinking champagne, going to party, going to work. Then I stopped missing work. So on my desk, my work kept piling up because I'm the only one that does my job. So they fired me, but they liked me though. But my attendance got fucked up, so they couldn't use me more. So the controller of the company called me in. He's like, yo, man, you know, I felt the letdown. It's like, yo, we think you should go back to school and maybe you can come back. I know they wasn't gonna take me back, but they gave me a severance. They gave me $10,000. But he's like, yo, you know, you got something I don't have. I'm like, what's that? Some nigga rich as a motherfucker. He's like, you got street knowledge, is something I wish I always had. So going back to what you were saying is that when you coming up hustling, and it's still to the day, I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of things I do, I use from the structure of the foundation he was talking about of how I know how to move and shake. Like everybody know I'm a master trainer. I've been a master trainer for 25 years. Even with my clients, I've had a little hustling mentality. But that shit don't never leave you, man. That's what I'm saying.
Because it's your foundation.
We gotta call it.
This is
Hello,
what
caller.
your brain is trained to.
Exactly.
Yeah, you talk to Cavario.
Yo, salute, fellas. What's up? This is J.E. from East Flatbush, BK.
What's up,
I
J.E.?
just gotta salute y'all guys, man. Y'all talking some real shit. And I feel like the code is no longer embedded in these young kids, man. It's a different lifestyle, different time. And I just gotta salute y'all fellas, man, for speaking the facts and the truth. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that, bro.
All right, peace.
That's all you
Peace.
got to
Thanks
say.
for calling.
You got no question?
Man, that's it, man. I was at my job, and I heard y'all fellas, man, speaking some wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So I had to give y'all some props. You know what I mean?
Well, bro, check this out, J.E. Since you're a person who can appreciate real shit, you should definitely get copies of Raised by Wolves, Old Gangsters and Young Guns, and my newest book, 50 Critical Quotes, bro.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm from that era, man. You know what I mean? Free my guy, Scooter Baldwin from East Flatbush, Smiles and Charlie Bedford. I'm from Vanderbilt Projects.
No doubt. Shout out to Scooter.
And yeah, free Scooter, man. You know, real dude, genuine. And
That's right.
I just want to just tell y'all guys, man, just keep spreading the knowledge, man. You know what I mean? We need that. You know what I mean?
So how can you get the book?
You can go to www.cav as in Vincent ARIO online CavarioOnline.com.
All right, definitely. Peace, fellas.
All right.
All right, thanks, bro, for calling.
Thanks for calling.
Calling.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn in the house. He's Flatbush in the building. But yeah, it's crazy.
Not for nothing, but Brooklyn is like the last bastion of the New York I come from. That's the only place where I go and I really feel like this is what's left of the New York I come from. The New York I come from is gone.
Yeah.
You
So,
know what I'm saying?
Cavario, we need you to speak. We spoke on both two books so far. Give a little brief synopsis about this right here.
All right,
50
so-
critical quotes.
50 Critical Quotes is something that resulted from when I went into the prison system in South Carolina after there was this really bad event that took place between brothers who identified as Bloods, identified as Crips, identified as GDs. Why do I say that identified as that? Because the majority of these guys have never left the burgs that they come from. They've never left the, seriously, dirt road towns or towns with one paved road that they come from before they ended up in a South Carolina Department of Corrections penitentiary,
Right.
doing 30, 40 fucking years, right? For some activity that they may or may not have associated with being in a gang or whatever. But they knew nothing. When I went into that prison, they knew nothing about gang culture. They just were saying, we Bloods, right? We Crips. That's the truth of it, right? I did not meet one guy who was from Chicago. I did not meet one guy who was from the West Coast. You know what I mean? One guy who understood the structure. Not one guy. When I asked one guy, he said the GD. I said, "Who books you on?" He had no idea what I was talking about. I said, "My nigga, y'all are not in the gang. Y'all are not in the gang." But these groups, they came together in an altercation where they ended up 7 brothers ended up getting killed, getting butchered. There's a lot of video, a lot of pictures of this event. This happened on April 15, 2018 in a place called Lee County, maximum security prison, a level 3 security prison. And they shut the whole system down. There were probably like 21 operational prisons in South Carolina at that time, level 1s, 2s, and 3s. And they shut down every prison across the state. And because they didn't know where it came from. And they didn't know how far it was gonna go. So they locked everybody in their cells. That happened in one place, they locked down 20 places. And they locked everybody in their cell for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? And this is in the summer in South Carolina.
What part of South Carolina?
It's Lee County.
Oh, Lee County. Okay, I got
Lee
you.
County Penitentiary. So it's probably like an hour. It's in the rural part of South Carolina, about an hour outside of Columbia. So 7 brothers got butchered to death. It was really bad, and so they shut the prison system down. And after about 4 months, of course, things got worse. And in getting worse, they developed, this new issue. Like now people are going crazy and all kinds of shit. People we didn't have problems with, having problems with now. So we got to figure something else out. So a cat who I was associated with at this time, he had gone to a symposium for prison education. And at this symposium was a lady who ran the educational program for South Carolina Department of Corrections. And she was told, you need to speak to this guy because he's saying that he can help, situations like this, gang problems. He did a lot of time in prison, dealt with a lot of gang shit, whatever. Okay, cool. So she goes, she sees him, he speaks, she gets him to, come to the prison. And so, it's my partner. So he says, yo, we gotta go to this prison in South Carolina and see what's going on with this situation. So we go out there. We go to like maybe 11 different prisons, 2 of them were women prisons. And when we get there, they have everybody locked up in their cells. And they are thinking, we're gonna have you go and basically speak to each individual person in their cell. I said, well, no, you're not. You're gonna let them out of their cells, into the block, into the main area, so we can address them.
Right.
Oh my God, they're gonna go crazy, they're gonna kill each other. So we're like, nah, we don't think that, right? So they let them out. We go to the first place, they let them out. And my guy at the time, he comes, he speaks, right? So he tells them about the time he did in prison and all that, whatever, from Boston. And then his big homie, who was really the heavy nigga in the jail, you know what I mean? He speaks, right? He did 28 out of a life sentence. Homie had did 13 out of a sentence that was initially 7 and turned to 103 because he was that stupid. And before he comported himself and got himself, straight so he can get out. So they tell them basically, we've been where you are now and we can completely understand. So then I come up, and before I come up, they roll up a television and they put a DVD in the DVD player, and Pusha T comes on. It says, this is Pusha T. Big homie Cavario called and asked me to make this video for you guys at SEDC, you know what I'm saying? And basically, we here, we supporting you, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Pay attention to this man. And then next thing is Killer Mike and T.I. And it's, the big homie Cavario said, holla at y'all, whatever, SEDC, boom, boom, we support you, whatever. Listen to this guy. So then 2 Chainz comes on. I had him do this on his wedding day. Yo, this is 2 Chainz, blah, 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 boom, SEDC, you know what I'm saying? Boom. Then David Banner comes on. Yo, homie Cavario told me to, holla at y'all, man, and, let y'all know, this is what you need to do. You need to start working on, getting yourself educated, boom, boom, boom. Okay, cool. So now they're like, who the fuck is Cavario? So then after the videos are done, I step up and I say, peace, my name is Cavario. And they're like, oh shit. And it was as though Killer Mike, Pusha T, T.I., David Banner, and 2 Chainz were standing there, right? I leveraged their notoriety and celebrity to validate myself in an instant to these people so that I could have access to their consciousness.
Gotcha.
And then I explained to them that I am your fantasy. I'm a guy who got in the street, did whatever the fuck he wanted, made all the money he wanted, and then walked away alive, healthy, and fucking free. Okay? I said, so between these 2 gentlemen and their experiences, and myself and my experiences, we cover the gamut of the potentials that a person can face making certain choices that lead people to circumstances like the one you're in right now. So I think we got something we could really impart to you if you would give us your time and attention. All right? So they were, one, impressed by the fact that they hadn't been out their cells in 4 months, and all of a sudden these 3 black guys show up and they ain't wearing no suits or nothing. I'm wearing my chain, my jewelry. They don't let you do that. We got our phones. They don't let you do that. Come inside, especially no maximum security prison.
Yeah, definitely
right?
your phone.
Right? So they're like, these niggas got us out of ourselves. They came out themselves like this, bro. All of them, they came out themselves like bewildered, like, oh,
Coming out the boxes.
Oh my God. Everybody. That's how they had them locked in. So after that, we went and talked to all these different people, all these different prisons, did the same thing over and over again. And about a month and a half later, they called us and said, look, since y'all left, we have not had 1 staff assault, not 1 stabbing anywhere. Because what we did was we went into the crowd after we finished talking, and we singled out the individuals that we, as cats who've had influence on people, the cats we understood got the influence around here. The one that's in the cut, not saying nothing, just watching every motherfucking thing, and everybody's kind of like physically or, you know, secretly deferring to them. Like, is it okay? Do we listen? We go right up to that motherfucker and be like, yo, come here. Who? Me? Because, you know, I got the administration fooled. They don't know that I'm actually the motherfucker pulling the strings around here.
Yeah.
Well, we ain't administration, nigga. Come here. Listen to the fuck we saying. Stop having these niggas knocking niggas off for honey buns and all type of dumb shit, and let these motherfuckers know that you can be taught something, and they'll let us come back in here and teach you some shit.
But similar
that's
to like a
it.
Scare Straight program.
Well, no, it wasn't about scaring. It was about
knowledge.
Oh yeah, the knowledge
Right,
straight program.
right,
Knowledge straight
right.
program.
So
Excuse me.
when we got the call, they was like, yo, we haven't had a staff assault or a stabbing since y'all left nowhere in the state. Because we went to all these different joints. We pulled all the shot holes out and said, look, talk about you. You know what to do. So they said, well, you come back and create a program. And we did. So we went back into Lee, where it happened. We took a SHU, special housing unit, a punitive unit, jail within jail, for those of you who don't know, right? And we had them completely gutted out. We had them remove the kennels. The kennels are those little, like, adult-sized dog cages they put outside for you to have your 1 hour of recreation every fucking day. We had them rip that all out, right? We had them repaint every cell, repair every crack and crevice. We had them repaint the whole unit, top to bottom. We had them build these big picnic tables, these big 30-foot picnic tables, metal picnic tables with the benches attached. Build them inside the unit, right? And then we had 50-inch flat screen TVs put, right, about 6 of them put all around, right? Then we had erase boards put up, and we went in at 7:30 in the morning and left at 7:30 at night. 5 days a week was in there for 12 hours a fucking day. Right. In our block, no corrections officer in our block the entire time we're there. Just us in there.
He left the patrol under y'all.
That's
it.
that's crazy. That's
Had
big.
never been done before. It's never been done since.
Yeah. So
So 50 critical quotes came as a result of that. I created a curriculum based upon 50 of my personal quotes that I had adapted as a child growing up, learning the things I was learning from my elders that I needed to hold on to. And I created the quotes as a way of holding on to those ideas. So give you an idea how this works. Character demands accountability. This is to affect mindfulness in a person. You may think as well of yourself as you wish, but if your actions do not consistently match up with your self-perception, then you are not who you would like others to think you are. Character is the defining aspect of an individual's worth. Character cannot be purchased at any price. A character person is not driven by self-aggrandizement or the adulation of others. The character do not do less than they know is best, and they do not do what the moment dictates. They do what nature dictates, because the character are accountable always, right? And I was able to adapt these understandings based upon the things that were being given to me from a player's mouth to my childhood ear as we ride in some big ass motherfucking Seville or Cadillac in 73, 74, 75, you know what I mean? And they going, look, check this out, man. A big ass pinky ring sticking out the fucking that fedora, you know, hanging, and the motherfuckers like, check this out, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Young dog, you know, so you listen to what the fuck I'm talking about. And so you watch and you pay attention, to show you right, motherfucker. And I'm like, yo, I gotta listen to all of this, and I have to remember the things. I have to be able to respond going forward in a way that's indicative of, motherfucker, I'm paying attention because I'm trying to earn my space. I'm trying to earn my right to be in the presence of these people. And I'm a kid. That means I gotta be on point. I gotta remember the things they're saying. And when they say something, I gotta respond in a way that says, yeah, you've been listening to everything I've said up until now. And the way I was able to hold on to those things was by making up these little things that would help me to remember the larger ideas. And that was the basis of the critical thinking process that I taught these guys in the prison. And that's what 50 critical quotes come from.
Okay, so before we go, I'll ask you one question. You and Benzino, y'all were doing a book or something, right?
I was trying to help him work on his book for a period.
Is it ever coming out?
But Ray is like all over the fucking place. He's got a erratic character like that. You know what I mean? It's part of his guy's kind of a fucking genius. You gotta realize, without Ray Benzino, we're not talking about the source. It would have come and gone. That's a fact. That's a fucking fact, okay? Without Ray Benzino, there's no Hip Hop Weekly, which is the one and only bi-weekly hip hop publication that's ever existed. And we were putting out so fast that it was coming out every week. Every Tuesday was a new issue. We were dropping information faster than the fucking internet at the time, because you got to remember, there was no social media then. We were dropping articles and issues faster. Michael Jackson died. We had the first magazine out with a Michael Jackson cover and story in it in the world. We came out quicker than every other publication was. Nobody ever could figure out how we were putting that magazine out so quickly. But that was Benzino. It was his concept. I mean, he took the Us Weekly and OK, magazine concept and applied it to hip hop, but he did it effectively. And no one else had ever thought of doing it, and no one else could figure out how to do it. Because for sure, a monthly magazine definitely wasn't in pace anymore. People were starting to get information on their computers and things like that. So you can't put out a magazine next, but monthly magazines, the cover for a monthly magazine was determined 4 months before it came out.
And a monthly considered fast. If you could do a monthly, that's considered good.
Yeah, it was.
It means you buzzing.
It was.
Yeah,
It was at that time. Yeah. You know what I mean? But over time, with the progression of technology and so forth, that concept became outdated. Just like niggas trying to sell drugs the way we sold drugs in the 80s in the 2000s.
Oh,
it's like
God.
they got the Flintstones and you got the Jetsons. The Flintstones are dead, motherfucker. We live in the age of the Jetsons. So if you're still operating on the same degree of information that we were operating on back 30, 40 years ago, motherfucker, you're already dead.
That's right.
You're already dead.
Your
They got
time's
your whole
limited.
shit mapped out. What they didn't see, they heard from the motherfuckers who had those downward departures, who were happy. You got a lot of motherfuckers who were happy to tell them everything, because being in a room with white people validating and patting them on the back and saying, you're okay, you're good, we validate, we accept you, you're not a bad person, help us more, tell us more. Yeah. It's like, I always wanted Mr. Charlie to feel really good about me. I always wanted to actually secretly I would have been a cop, but there was just no cops around me. There was only street people, so I ended up doing that. But this feels more natural to me. You know how many motherfuckers whose paperwork I've read, and they were like, they had to tell him, look, you gotta stop talking. You've told us enough. You've gotta stop talking.
Dang.
Like for real. Like Glaze. He is a prolific fucking rat. And I usually don't address these types of fools. I've been told about him mentioning my name and whatever. I've never said his name, and I've never seen anything that anyone has ever said or posted in an attempt to disparage my name, character, or reputation. Because if you would do that, that means you abso-fucking-lutely don't know me. You don't know me.
Oh, so you and Glaze had a little situation?
Never. We could never. I don't know him. He don't know me. He's just somebody who's looking to validate himself in any way he can. But I read his paperwork when I
so
did
he
the story
snitched?
on, bruh, it'll make you nauseous.
Glaze called our show a couple times.
When I did
not that Glaze, huh?
Not
when I
Glaze.
did-
This is Glaze from Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
Oh wow.
When I did the my man Luke Spoon story, right? This is Fat Cat's Cody. When I interviewed him on Vlad. Prior to interviewing him, I do my research and I went through his paperwork. This dude, Glaze, told on every single fucking person he's ever come into contact with that he had it was as though this dude has so much information. The feds were like, he told us about crimes that we didn't know happened. We had to do research in order to find, in fact, these crimes had happened. In this state or that state or this place. So it was as though this guy had been gathering information from people in their endeavors and their criminal activity that had nothing to do with him at all. It just, nigga, I just did so such, nigga, what you did, It's as though he was gathering information the whole time in anticipation of coming to a point where he could leverage this information. Because I'm like, why do you know these things? Why are you able to give these people this information? Why niggas? But niggas, see, this is the thing. This gets back again to who people actually are coming from these poor, unfortunate, fucking destructive environments. But you are still who you are. You're responding to this environment, right? So when this guy was telling these people all this fucking information, it was like he was enjoying it. It's like he had become an agent. Oh, let me tell you about this thing. They couldn't ask you certain questions about certain things because they didn't know to ask you the question. He volunteered the information. I'm talking tons of it. I read paper after paper after paper after paper of him telling on every motherfucking person he ever came into contact with, bro. In detail. He's a prolific fucking rat. But that's his burden to bear. I don't know him. I never met him. He definitely don't fucking know me at all. You think that my mother killed the man she loved with all her heart, right? Her boyfriend before that was a hitman. These are the men that raised me. My father was a prolific monster. This is what was going on in my home. My sister killed my mother's youngest brother, shot him in the top of the head while he slept in the bed because he slapped her after she whacked the package and got loud with him about it, and he smacked her for getting loud. She leaves, he lays down, she comes back, shooting him in the top of the head. My mother covers it up and says that some people that he owed money to came in and did it because he was a monster. It was easy to believe. He was a fucking killer. So I don't come from Susie Homemaker in the projects. I am a genetically engineered fucking gangster. Think I give a fuck about what a nigga said he did? A girl killer? He's a girl killer. A helpless girl killer. Motherfucker, you ain't me. You ain't made like me. Time tells all truths, my niggas. I'm here in the condition that I'm in because I'm actually who the fuck I say, believe, think, and know that I am, and operated as I am my whole fucking life. If anybody says they know me, they know I'm a real headbanger. I've been knocking niggas the fuck out since I was a teenager, since I was 14, 15 years old. I'm a giant killer. Give a fuck about these made up ass psychopath motherfuckers. These motherfuckers are a bunch of fucking nuts, my nigga. And they're fueled by the sycophantic, when I say sycophantic, I mean like severely ass-kissing motherfuckers that proliferate, that are all over the fucking hood. The hood is full of ass-kissing, soft-ass, square motherfuckers masquerading like they something they're not. That's why the fuck they've been going to prison and dying at exponential rates progressively since the motherfucking 80s, since cocaine became cheap and accessible and anybody could get in it. Those are the facts, not my preferred ideas. That is quantified in the statistical information that anybody can access if they care to know the truth about any motherfucking thing, which most motherfuckers don't. They just want to run their fucking mouths. But whenever you do, whatever you do, wherever you see me, do what you've been doing. All of you motherfuckers, do what you've been doing. Smile, say what's up, say I just saw what you just did. But don't get out of pocket. I'm gonna put you on your back or your face. That's the truth now. Now you know. Because I know people hear me speaking and say, oh, he's so articulate, he sounds so nice. It's like, he must be this kind of way. Nigga, you don't know what we look like. We look like all kinds of motherfuckers. We drive buses, we motherfucking deliver mail, we do all kinds of shit. But the nature of a thing is the nature of a thing. It does not change by virtue of its view. Now, if you get it, you get it. If you don't,
there it is, man. There it is, the beat 139.
Cavario, listen, man.
Cavario, man.
This is one of the
Go hit
realest
that like,
interviews we
subscribe.
had, man, since we got back on the air, man.
Yeah, this been crazy,
This is official
man.
right here.
It been
Cavario,
crazy.
thanks for coming,
Thanks
brother.
for coming,
I gotta do it one more time.
Yo, hit that like button.
Yeah.
Tell
Tell me your social media links too, man. Tell them where your books at. Tell them everything, bro.
Online to hit me Insta and all that kind of shit, whatever. I'll primarily be on Insta. It's Cavario, C-A-V, again, as in Vincent, not B, Cavario, underscore the underscore mind underscore plug, right? Then I have the mind plug IG as well, okay? Primarily those Cavario underscore the mind plug, underscore. And my websites are www.cavario, CAVARIOONLINE.com, CavarioOnline.com, and my other website is www.themindplugacademy.com. That is where you'll be able to contact me. You can get my audio book, the audio version of 50 Critical Quotes. You can tap in and get involved in my academy, where I teach pro-social skills and, basically it's life coaching, but more so from the mental, it's thought coaching. Because anybody who can be from what I'm from, I come from a very, very traumatic fucking background. I come from a home, not a neighborhood. I want y'all to be clear on that. From a home inside my house where you had to be concerned whether or not you may or may not get killed based upon how you're fucking behaving in your own home. So why the fuck would I care about what's going on in the street? Like, what that mean to me? But I want you to understand, man, if you can come from where I came from, developmentally, and become as pro-social and progressive in your thinking and behaviors as I have been able to do, then you're doing something that's uncommon, and it takes help, it takes guidance, and I offer that. I'm a thought coach. I help to improve your mental processes so that you can improve the condition of your life. I have a very, very good fucking life.
There it is. There
It is.
My man.
Beat 139.
Cavario.
Hit that like and hit that
That's
subscribe
right.
button. Subscribe. We will have something big for you on Wednesday also.
Yes, we will.
Yo, it's Harlem on the rise, yo, we love to get the money. This a podcast, you can catch us being funny. Yeah,
We gonna get some
$7
shit.
live, so stop everything, this is serious vibe. Catch us on the